Almost. Watching the time. Everybody's quiet.
Countdown.
Countdown. Okay. So I would like to call the May 6th, 2015 San Mateo County Harbor Commission meeting to order. And I would like to start by welcoming Glenn Lazoff. The board voted unanimously to appoint Mr. Lazoff at the May 4th special meeting to be our new interim general manager. And tonight, during item 10, the board will consider the contract and complete the process. So I just wanted to welcome Mr. Lazoff. And our harbor master, John Draper.
Can you roll call, please?
Sure, roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Here.
Commissioner David?
Here.
Commissioner Matthews?
Here.
Commissioner Paravano?
Here.
President Brennan?
Here.
Thank you.
And Acting Harbor Master John Draper asked to make a couple of comments before we go to public comment.
Thank you. I see a lot of surfer community in the audience, so I just wanted to give condolences for the loss of Barney yesterday. I read about it last night. It was real sad hearts at the harbor today, so just want to let all you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
So next, we have public comment, and I see that there are a lot of speaker slips, and I see a lot of our local talent in the crowd. So let's see. I may not pronounce all these names correctly, so if you could please correct me when you get up to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to address the board and speak on topics that are not on the agenda tonight. So the first person I have is Andy Erskine. Please come on up and just stand at the podium there.
So my name is Andy Erskine. I'm on the jet ski assistance and rescue team for Titans and Mavericks, help with contests in past years and other capacities. Speaking just about Cartel and how they're running the contest, I think they're doing a great job. They've managed to gain the support and respect of both the athletes and local community by keeping both parties' interests at the center and forefront of it, and also come with a really strong game plan for a successful contest as an entity. So, just wanted to say that.
Thank you. And next we have Daryl Verosca. Thank you.
Thank you for that, I'm Daryl Verosco. I'm on the Titans and Mavericks C5 board, and also I'm a past winner of the Mavericks event back in '99, 2000, and 2004. And I've been involved with the Mavericks event for several years now, and in the past it's been kind of disarray and this and that, and I really feel now that this is going in the right direction. And first time in my life dealing with the Mavericks contest that this is for the long run, it's for the surfers, and I feel like we're all a part of something, so it's a really positive thing. And I just want to let you guys all know that it's been really fun to work with Cartel. They ask the surfers, they ask me, they ask the community, the harbor masters, what can they do, how should they do it, you know what I mean, these kind of things, and it really matters a lot. So I'm just really happy to be helping them. So,
Thank you. And next we have Ian Banner.
Hello, I'm Ian Banner.
Thanks.
I'm also with the Committee C5, helping Cartel and organizing this contest. And there's been a lot of work put into it, a lot of energy, effort, passion, and I also agree that it's kind of evolved and is, you know, gaining momentum in a positive direction. You know, although we didn't have an event this year, there was a lot of progress made just organizing everything so that it's all going to make sense. You know, I'd like to see it carry on, and I'm not really sure what would be stopping it, but I'm in support of, you know, keeping things going.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have Colin Dwyer.
It's Colin Dwyer.
Dwyer, thank you.
My name is Colin Dwyer. I'm born and raised in Pacifica, just up the coast. I'm also a competitor in the contest, and I think I can accurately speak for the younger generation of surfers coming up in this local community. In the past, like, the contest has been a little dysfunctional, and guys like myself who are kind of trying to get into the event never really knew how to get into the event, or kind of really a lot of question marks, kind of just a lot of thumbing through by braille, and there was a lot of difficulties. And with this new organization that's come in, there's been a drastic change in the focus of the event. It's more geared towards the athletes and taking care of them first, rather than, say, the squeaking wheel gets the oil, or somebody who's complaining unnecessarily. And I just want to voice my support for that frame of mind that's currently in place now. And the current establishment is one that I wholeheartedly support. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Brian Overfeld.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Overfeld. I proudly stand here and represent Titans and Mavericks for the Mavericks event. Cartel Titans and Mavericks reached out to Mavericks Invitational, and I was one, and they came to me and told me about wanting to take care of the athlete in the community and run a world-class event. And I've worked very closely with Brian Waters and Griffin Guess of Cartel that has created Titans and Mavericks. And I can tell you a lot of hard work has gone into this, and a lot of hard work to reach out to the community. If you look in the audience right now, I see world-class surfers, local surfers, world-class shapers, and great people. And they're all here because we've heard about a rumbling of someone maybe coming in to meddle with our permit. So we're here to protect what we've worked so hard as a community, as a team, as a family to maintain. So we really appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. Next we have Sean Dollar.
Hi, my name is Sean Dollar. I am a competitor in the Titans and Mavericks. I'm also a competitor for the WSL, and I've been a surfer's rep for the previous Mavericks contest. I've also had quite a bit of experience working with the WSL, and from my perspective, I've just been nothing but thankful for Cartel coming in and the amount of hard work they've done, the honesty that they've showed us, and their attitude of really trying to make this better, and they have from what I've seen before to where we are now. I think this contest is in great hands. And me personally, as a competitor working with the WSL, I'm extremely frustrated where we're continuously giving contracts within 24 hours of the contest that we're forced to sign, and it's just not fair business practice. And so I'm personally in fear that if they took this, if they were to run Mavericks, that really the future of what I'm so passionate about, the big wave surfing, would really be in jeopardy. Cartel's really showed a lot of honesty and a lot of fairness to us as competitors. For the first time, I really see a future. And so, again, I'm not really sure what the concern is. I just wanted to speak my appreciation and my honesty that we're really on the right track, and I wanted you to hear that from me, because, man, you guys have one of the most amazing assets in your backyard, and I live in Santa Cruz, and I come up here and surf it, and I'm going to surf it whether there's a contest or not. But when there is a contest, it's amazing for us, it's amazing for everyone in this community, but it has to be done right, and it has to be supported, and this group of people right here are thankful for what's going on, and I really hope that you guys support it and continue to allow this to thrive, because we're really on the right track finally. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Ken Collins.
Hello, I'm Ken Collins. Like Sean, I'm in the Mavericks event, and I'm also on the WSL Big Wave World Tour 2013. I was second in the world. I put a lot of hard work and soul on the Big Wave World Tour, and after 2013, I've lost a lot of excitement for it because I came out in debt. I got second in the world and I came out in debt. And I've communicated with them many times, like, this is what you need to do. You need to take care of the athletes, not take care of the sponsors. And when Cartel came involved and I saw what they offered to us and what they were doing with the community and how they were so transparent and what they brought to the table with HBO, and I'm like going, this is the organization that's going to take us where we need to be. And then last year, WSL only ran 2 events, and I was really upset because I felt they could have ran 2 more, but I don't think they have their act together with what they have on their table, let alone reach out and grab more, especially this table. It means so much to me in our community. There's a lot of people that work their butts to be in the Mavericks event, but if the Big Wave World Tour gets involved, it's not going to be the people that pay their dues. It's just going to take whoever they want to put in an event. That's what I'm seeing happen right now. There's people on the Big Wave World Tour, I'm like, those guys weren't even surfing big waves last year. I don't think they're doing it right. And that's where it needs to be in your ways. Like, I don't know what's going on. I think they're looking for a permit, but if they get in the way of what we're doing here, that's not proactive. That's not what's going to be best for this community or best for the surfers. And more importantly, that's for the fans that are wanting to watch it. Because the Big Wave World Tour just had an event in Chile and didn't even do a live broadcast. I sat there wanting to watch it and I couldn't watch it, and that's Big Waves events needs to have a live broadcast. So that way you will have less people on the cliffs and more people in the living room. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Pete Overfelt.
Evening. I've been a Coastside resident since 1974. I'm a business owner. I co-own Silver Star and Old Princeton Landing. I live in this group here, lifelong Coast Riders, Half Moon Bay, El Granada, involved with this event. I think Titans and Mavericks is putting the community first along with taking care of the athletes. The donations that have been made to various organizations in Half Moon Bay from the group, I think they put their money where their mouth is. I don't know if you all live on the coast or not, but it's really been a sort of a local growth that's been taken. It's sort of snowballing with this whole group. Guys from Santa Cruz, San Francisco, it has kept it really local, and that's going to benefit the community here because they have community interests first. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next we have Cassandra Clark.
Good evening, thank you. I am a business owner in the community. We own Maverick Surf Shop and soon Mavericks Pedal Sports to be open. We're members of the Mavericks Invitational Board of Directors, founded right here in our community. We're local residents. And we decided to partner with Cartel Management to put on this event, to take it to not only the next level for everyone who participates, but also for the community and a long-term success. This isn't a one-year permit, a two-year permit. We're looking at a long-term commitment to this community to ensure the viability of this event and the livelihoods of these guys who put their lives on the line for our entertainment. I want to assure you that we are doing the right thing by this community. We're a business owner right in the harbor. We're your tenant. We have a commitment to this community and a commitment to our surfers and to the agencies. There are 16 agencies involved in organizing this event. It's taken 3 years to develop a model for San Mateo County on how to run a proper event. They use our model for all of their events now within the county. That's how much work and dedication is behind this. We have a lot of people here who may not understand why we're here before you, but there is another organization claiming that they can file for a permit. We have a permit that the board agreed to for 3 years. We have paid for that permit for this year. We expect that we can continue to plan with our sponsors, with our broadcasters, with our webcasters. If you think about it, it's 3 events in one: land, sea, and broadcast. There are so many moving parts to this event. And these people right here make it happen. We have our folks from Cartel who have elevated this. For the first time, we have financial security, and we can make this happen. And we need you to partner with us to make that happen. We need you to understand that these faces that you see here, all of us are the ones who are involved. We are the community who are reaching out to you to ask for you to be our partners. It's us, and it's going to continue to be us as long as we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Brian Waters.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Cartel Management, and I share pretty much point to point what Cassandra said. I want to evolve that a little bit by consistency from all the athletes you've heard through tonight. Safety, community first, what those interests are, and the diligence that we have done to build this and make this the world's class best. It's true there's another organization that is trying to apply for this permit. Looking forward is what we can offer you, and that of reaching out to the Boys and Girls Club and making efforts with them. You'll hear from Mike a little bit later, to the infrastructure that's been, blood, sweat, and tears, and the water safety team being here. I've been a part of those trainings. We care about the safety, the community, and going forward in a successful event, and not to negatively impact your event. And I know some things with the marathon, the pumpkin festival, and we really want to grow with you over the years to come as good partners. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Anthony Tashnik. Did I get that?
How's it going? My name is Anthony. I'm a competitor in the Mavericks contest, and I'm a previous winner. And pretty much everyone here has said something. I mean, I agree with all of them. And I just can't believe everyone is actually, there's been a lot of problems or dramas basically in the past years trying to get everything and together basically to make it go to the next level. And I'm just really impressed that Titans and Mavericks has made this whole group kind of come together and become one. And I think it'll be great for the community. And anywhere you go in the world, people ask, if you say surfing, they ask you, oh, do you know about Mavericks? And Mavericks is a really important thing. And I think that Titans and Mavericks can make everyone happy and bring more money to the community and do it safely for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's it for public comment, and just, I don't think I have, Jeff, of course, come on up. I don't think I have a speaker slip for you, but that's all right. Maybe I missed it. That's all right, just come on up. We know who you are.
All these guys I'm watching from the very beginning with Mavericks. The starting of the first event, all the way through to where we're at now. We've had growing pains with different sponsors in and out. With Cartel and where we are now, we have a deep organization that has the ability to do it the way I have dreamed about it. Taking care of the community, surfers, showcasing these athletes to the rest of the world with that gem of a wave that we have out there. With the application or with another entity trying to come in and do an event here, one that where are they? And do they have the support of the community? And if you look at this last year, this year we didn't have an event, but we planned. We had meetings, we had, like we said, all the agencies were here. We planned and we planned and we planned. It was a giant day, December 20th, but that was a blackout day for Air Force. All the agencies had vacations. It was a blackout day. We couldn't hold the event that day. And then the ocean just didn't cooperate with us. So we've been allowed to open the contest window November 1st for this next year. And that'll give us a shot to find that one day a year. And in my history of being contest director and trying to find that magic day to hold this event, it's really important that you have the whole winter to pick that day and to find it, and I hope she cooperates with us, because we're at the ocean's mercy and the storm's mercy. And I think that given the support and the appreciation that Titans has shown for our community, what we have here, the appreciation for the surfers that risk their lives and put everything on the line to go out there and do an event, it's really important that we look at this in a long-term relationship. They're not going away next year. They're not going away in 5 years. They support every one of these guys. I support them. I'm working with them. And we need you to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and because this item is not agendized, we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda. So I just want to make sure that you know that your voices have been heard. This meeting is being videotaped. The video will be published on YouTube, and we really appreciate hearing from everyone. So thank you for coming tonight. And you're welcome to stay, but if you don't want to stay for our meeting, we understand. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Not you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Take care, guys. Good guy.
Wow, that really cleared the room. Okay. So next we have the consent calendar.
Could we do staff recognition first?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I just wanted to introduce one of our temporary staff members, Marcia Schnapf. She is helping us with the HR position and the other tasks, including our move and some IT activities and a bunch of other things that she gets rolling here. And we're really thankful. Marcia used to work for the district years ago, so she's able to hit the ground running really easily for us. And just thankful she was able to make it in.
Is Marcia here?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. What's your last name, Marcia?
I'm Marcia Schnapp.
Schnapp. Okay.
Like Schnapps. Singular. You don't see double.
Okay. And you used to work for the district previously?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
From 2005 through 2010.
And are you working here part-time, or is this, what's the,
Yes.
this is the first we've heard of it, so.
Yes, I'm working part-time. I just started.
Okay.
So I live formerly in Placer County, so I work Tuesday through Thursday 1 week and Tuesday through Friday the next week. And stay temporarily in Maryland.
Okay, thank you. So welcome.
Thank you.
So any more staff recognition, or is that it?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, so next we have the consent calendar. We have item 1 through 5, which are all meeting minutes, and I would like to pull item 2 and item 4. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve item 1, 3, and 5, or does anyone want to pull?
Item 1.
You want to pull 1? Okay.
And
Any others?
I am going to abstain from item 3 because I was not at that meeting. So
Okay. So we don't need to pull it, but you're going to abstain.
I move to approve items 3 and 5.
Okay.
Excuse me, if Commissioner Bernardo wants to vote on the other items, but only abstain on 3, you should pull 3 as well, unless he's going to abstain as a whole from.
So if you want to, you're suggesting we pull 3 too?
I'm only wanting to clarify what Commissioner Bernardo wants.
That sounds like it's the best thing to do.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Would you like to restate your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 5 on the consent calendar.
Can I hear a second? Second. Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Okay, so let's start with item 1, and that was an item that Commissioner David wanted pulled.
Yeah, this was the meeting from March 18th where Scott Grindy was actually on vacation, and when you go to page 5, it says staff reports. Grindy presented 12, 13, and 14, so I would like to have that corrected to be Charles White presented item 12, 13, and 14, and with that correction, I move to approve item 1 meeting minutes of March 18th.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Okay, item 2. Let me try to remember why I wanted to pull it here. Well, one reason is I need to abstain from voting on this item because I was not at this meeting. You were also not at this meeting. Nor was Commissioner Mathush, just a reminder. And the other comment I had on item 2, meeting minutes, is just that to date, I have not been able to find a video published for this special meeting. And I've heard that PCTV was not there to videotape the special meeting, but that commissioners that were there, that called the meeting, videotaped the meeting with their iPhones or something, but it has to be edited together. But whatever the case, I'd really like it if we could get a video posted from the special meeting, because it was an important special meeting and only 3 commissioners were able to attend, although 2 commissioners requested the meeting be rescheduled and it wasn't. So at the least, I'd just like to get the video up. And again, I'm going to abstain on this one. So can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 2 on the consent calendar.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Abstain.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Abstain. Thank you. Item 3, we pulled, so Commissioner Bernardo could abstain, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so can I get a
I
motion?
move to approve item 3 meeting minutes from April 1st, 2015.
Can I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Abstain.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Abstain.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Okay, item 4, meeting minutes of April 15th, 2015. I noticed on, where is it? Item 4, page 2 of 4, there's public comment regarding item 1. And this public comment record does not accurately reflect the comments that were made by the public in my recollection. And I have not had time to go, verbatim through the video as a comparison, but I'm concerned that there is so much lengthy comment here for these public members when other public members comment in other meeting minutes and their comments are not recorded in anywhere near this sort of detail or length. So I feel like we're not being even-handed with the recording of public comments. And overall, we've agreed to have what could probably be described as action minutes, and this is outside of that. So I'm feeling that it's not even-handed, and it's also not completely accurate. So I would like to delay this item and have it corrected, and I'm happy to help with that and bring it back to the next meeting. So that's my request.
This is for item 4?
This is just for item 4.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 4.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David? Aye. Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
No. Now we have, oh, we already approved item 5. So.
Yeah, I have one more comment for the consent calendar.
Yeah, go ahead.
So after the April 1st meeting was abruptly discontinued, there were 3 commissioners that called a special meeting on April 4th for the following Saturday to just approve bills and claims so the district could keep functioning and paying the bills. And that meeting only lasted 2 minutes and 9 seconds, but I think it would still be good if we had a record of the April 4th meeting.
We will, it was an oversight once the agenda was posted, so I'm just going to put it back.
It was just missing in that whole row of
I had already
consecutive
copied everything and made the decision to just put it on the next meeting instead of...
Okay, great, thanks.
If that's all right.
Thank you. So next we have new business. Item 6, which is cancellation of Board of Harbor Commissioners meeting for May 20th, 2015 and June 3rd, 2015, and reinstate the July 1, 2015 meeting. And we have a report from Acting General Manager Grindy.
Yes, and there is a change since we've been working on trying to get this calendar squared away even after the publishing of this. The May 20th meeting, we proposed to keep that so that we would still have the May 20th meeting. It looks like it'll be the following dates. And sorry, I got too many dates in front of me here, but it's the May 28th through the 30th, then 1st, that we'll probably be in the process of shutting down the office, so we should be able to have that meeting, but not the June 3rd meeting as noted.
So you would prefer
We lose one meeting, which is...
So you'd prefer to keep the May 20th and not have the June 3rd?
Correct.
Do I hear a motion? Or is there any discussion?
I move to cancel the Board of Commissioners meeting for June 3rd, 2015 and reinstate the May 20th and July 1st meeting, 2015.
And are we gonna, what about the July 1st? We're reinstating.
She just said
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Paravano?
No.
President Brennan?
Aye. Next, we have item 7, which is bills and claims in the amount of $215,431.38. And you have in front of you the list of bills. Our finance director is not with us this evening, so if we have questions, we'll direct them at the acting general manager. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, I have some questions. So if you flip over to the second side, there's the list of bills, and there are a couple things here. I know in the past we talked about batching the refund deposits that are sprinkled throughout in alphabetical order to a certain section of this list so that we can see all the refunds in a group. And I know I've been talking about that for, I don't know, years now, and it hasn't happened yet, so I'm wondering if that could happen, because it's confusing when there's all these refunds to our tenants sprinkled.
I believe I sent President Brown a form that had from Deborah that was with a different layout for you specifically, because you didn't ask them for that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's very hard to get out of the alpha mode. And she was willing to adjust it, and I never heard a comment back, I believe.
I just thought she was going to do it. I didn't realize there was no, I wasn't asked to respond, but it looked fine to me, so I just thought it was going to happen. Okay, so that's just a little detail there. I see that we've got West Trail, Culvert Engineering, listed for $2,187.50, and I'm assuming that's some engineering for the improvements on the West Shoreline Access Trail. Is that accurate?
I'm just trying to make sure I'm seeing the same.
It's GHD Incorporated.
Okay, sorry, I was looking below that one. Yeah, and that's part of my general manager's report. I wanted to talk about that. So
you're going to get into detail on later?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then we have, I just wanted to point out our legal services costs to keep it in top of everybody's mind because that has been a concern. We've got Hanson Bridget at $26,000 and Liebert Cassidy at $11,580. And I really have no idea why Liebert Cassidy is billing us. It concerns me that the board is what I would describe as out of touch with the legal billings from Liebert Cassidy. I think our staff needs to do a better job keeping the board informed about, what types of billings we're going to continue to see from them and what they're for. I just feel like I am not in the loop on any of that. So that's just kind of a message to staff that the board, really needs to be informed about what to expect as far as billings. So it's just some input. And then I noticed that our office rent for South San Francisco is here. And just wanted to point out that we're moving, and so we're going to be seeing a different number there soon. That rent was going to go up if we were going to continue to stay in South City. So we'll see the rent go down slightly soon. And then I also wanted to point out that there's a payment to the RCD, the Resource Conservation District, of $13,962.37. Is that do we know, is that do we make quarterly payments to them, or do you know how that's?
Or as they bill, as I recall.
What's as they bill? Like monthly or quarterly or?
When they send us a bill.
Whenever they send us a bill.
Depends on when they perform testing and other activities that they've done.
Okay. It'd be nice to get some update when we're going to get billed from them, like on what we're getting, what we're getting billed for. And then we've got website maintenance, $2,132. And in the past, the district has been billed yearly, like annually, for website work. So I'm noticing that this is on our list of bills. So is there something new happening here where we're being billed more frequently now, or?
I'd have to check with that.
Okay, if we could find out about that, that would be great. And get a little more information about what's going on with the website maintenance. And I understand that our staff is not uploading board packets and documents to the website themselves, that the consultant's doing it. So maybe there's a place or a way to reduce the maintenance of the website if we could have staff trained to upload documents. And then also, it'd be great to see a reduction in the size of those documents. And that's all I have. If anybody would like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bills and claims for the period ending May 6, 2015, in the amount of $215,431.38.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
No. Item 8. We have authorized and paid bills and claims occurring between May 7th and June 16th, 2015, in an amount not to exceed $5,500. I'm sorry, $550,000. And does anybody have any questions or?
To make a motion that we.
Can I make a
Yeah,
comment first?
sure.
Even though I've stated we're not having a meeting on May 20th, I'd still like to have this as stands because it's going to be less issue that we have to work on while we're gearing up to move for the, during the 20th period. It's just one less thing to have to bring it back to the board on the 20th. That's the benefit of having it this way.
Question about that. If we did have it on the agenda on the 20th, would we have the list of bills to look at?
You would have it on the following meeting when we come back.
In
17th.
In the 17th.
Of June.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't.
You're still going to see it. It's just that we're trying to avoid adding to the pile when we're trying to get out of the door.
So by waiting, it wouldn't provide us with any additional information at the next meeting because we wouldn't have the list of bills?
Probably not.
No?
No.
Okay. Great. So did we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize to pay the bills and claims occurring between May 7th, 2015 and June 16th, 2015 in an amount not to exceed $550,000.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Okay, we have item 9, which is quarterly investment balances report. And our finance director is not with us tonight, so acting general manager Grindy will give the report. Can you go over our reserves for us?
I'd like to have asked Marzia to help us out with that.
Okay.
I think there was a question as to the allocation of the $16.3 million in reserves. And there are 4 categories. There's restricted, basically those reserves that need to be reserved for third-party payments. There's committed. You can see what's there: emergency reserve, reserve for district office, capital improvements. There's assigned. You can see those listed. And the unassigned, there was a question as to the recent sale where those funds went. And the funds for that sale of that property are in the unassigned category currently in the $4.6 million. The board has the right to basically decide whether they want to make any portion of that $4.6 million either assigned or committed at a future time.
So could that be agendized so that the board could consider assigning the money from the sale of the lot in El Granada to a reserve fund?
Yes. So you can basically assign it to a assigned reserve fund. That is correct.
Okay. Could we, I don't think we're prepared to consider that right now. So if that could come back for board consideration, that would be really helpful. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank you for giving us that report. It really helps. Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I can make a motion that we approve the quarterly investment balances report.
I'll second. Can we get roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. And next we have item 10, authorize award of contract to Regional Government Services for interim management services. Do you have a report?
I do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to report that the board on Monday voted unanimously to appoint Mr. Lazov to the position of interim general manager. But this appointment is conditional upon approval of an agreement with the Regional Government Services at a regular meeting, and this is why this is on the agenda tonight. Mr. Lazov is an employee of RGS, and so his services are being provided as an independent contractor and not as an employee of the district. So the agreement with RGS has been completed, and I believe copies are available to the public on the table. And the contract has a not to exceed amount of $150,000 for a 6-month term, and that's based on an hourly rate of $140, which is a flat rate and includes everything. Because Mr. Lazov basically works as a contractor for the district, and he comes to us with a strong financial background and a lot of experience in working with cities and city councils, boards and staff, and also experience in financial and administrative management. And he is expected to start work on May 13th, which is next Wednesday, and Scott Grindy will remain acting general manager until the day Mr. Lazov will report for duty. And at this point, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Scott Grindy for all the dedication and the commitment and all the hard work that you put into the district. over the past 4 months. Your efforts and accomplishments are very much appreciated by all of us. And after Peter Grinnell left, you stepped up to fill that position as acting general manager and put in a lot of time and energy into this new demanding job. And you've always been there for staff and for the commissioners and very responsive, and I'm just very appreciative that we could always count on you, so thank you very much.
Are there any questions about the item before us? Okay.
I move to authorize the award of contract to Regional Government Services for interim management services.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. So, welcome to the Harbor District. So next we have item 11, Acting General Manager Compensation, and we have a report from Stephen Miller, and we have on the second side a resolution 10-15. Mr. Miller, if you could give a report.
Sure. The staff report's actually the work of Deborah Galarza largely, but I will present it. At its meeting on March 18th, the board voted to adjust the compensation for Scott Grindy while he serves in his role as acting general manager pursuant to district personnel policy 4.04. There was some confusion from the finance department after that action, requiring it to come back to the board now for what really is essentially clarification and restatement of what it's believed the board did on March 18th, namely to apply policy 4.04 such that during the time that Scott Grindy serves as acting general manager, he is compensating the amount that Peter Grinnell would have been paid had he not retired on December 31st. And that dollar value is $150,000, $575.88, which applies from the date of January 1st and for so long as Scott serves as acting general manager, which based on your last action is only for a short additional time from now. And your director of finance has produced these numbers and has stated that there is no fiscal impact to this action because the administration's salary budget was calculated already at the outgoing general manager's compensation rate.
Are there any questions about this? Yes.
I do. So just for clarification, basically this is like retroactive pay, correct?
It is not at all like retroactive pay, if you'll forgive me for disagreeing.
Sure.
It is applying an existing policy to the salary effective as of when Harbor Master Grindy assumed the role of acting general manager. Retroactive pay would be saying, we're deciding now to give you a pay raise and we're going to bump it back to January 1st. What you're instead saying is, we should have been paying you this amount starting January 1st anyway, as per our policies, and affirming the application of your policy.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Yes.
So does that mean that we go back to the former salary on May 13th?
Exactly right.
I have a question about that. It doesn't say that in this resolution, so can that be clarified in here?
Sure. So the first whereas says that he has, and for so long as he is assigned the role of general manager. But if there's clarification in that regard, perhaps in the therefore be it resolved clause, it could read, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Harbor Commissioners of the San Mateo County Harbor District does approve the application of Personnel Rule 4.04 to the appointment of Scott Grindy as acting general manager, such that his salary for so long as he is acting general manager, effective January 1, 2015, is hereby set in the amount of $150,575.88. Would that clarification be helpful?
That would be great.
So Debbie, that's,
Yes.
did you catch that?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, so with that one correction, I move that we approve Resolution 1015, authorizing the general manager's compensation of $150,575.88.
I second.
Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabano?
Aye.
President Cronin?
Aye. So next we have item 12, adopting and affirming factual findings made during the Harbor District March 4th, 2015 public meeting regarding Three Captains Sea Products request to maintain a second hoist on Johnson Pier. And I have a speaker slip, one speaker slip for this, which is, I'd like to call John Dooley.
Good evening, my name is John Dooley. I'm here before you to speak on this resolution. This resolution here, I'm reading it, and it kind of makes me upset that this resolution is trying to be passed. We passed a resolution before, or passed it on the agenda before, saying that Three Captains had to remove the hoist by July. But then now, I guess there was problems with that, so now you're coming out with this resolution here, and you're saying that where's all documents in the agenda packet prepared by district staff. That wasn't true. Those documents weren't prepared by district staff. They were prepared by you, Sabrina. And you rammed it down Scott's throat and said, present this. It was like a kangaroo court. Now, Three Captains there signed a lease with the harbor, and I read that lease. And he also signed a letter saying that in 1 year after the hoist was put there, he was allowed to put the hoist there, after 1 year of use, a use review would be conducted, a use review. But he hasn't been able to use the hoist because you, Sabrina, have been down here at that coastal commission acting as yourself when you walk in the door, but you're actually saying you're a commissioner of this district and stopping the permit that Larry should have been issued on April 4th. He was all set to go before the thing. He has all the paperwork. Now, the reason Larry hasn't been able to use that hoist is because you've had him tied up at the Coastal Commission. And I think that's just so wrong because you're acting on your own. You're just a one-man show, just a gong show, just tearing up what he's trying to do. I mean, he's been with this district 35 years. And he went to the harbor, or to the commission, Peter Grinnell, and negotiated in the lease that he would be able to have a hoist in a second location. And they gave it to him. They put it in the lease. And they put it in all the people's leases. They could all have the same right. And all I'm saying is that this resolution here that you're trying to present is full of inaccuracies, and I wish you would just step back and do a use review of the hoist after it's operational and allow him to have the permit thing and stop interfering with that. And that's what's happening here, and you can't deny it, Sabrina, because it's all over down at the Coastal Commission, who you are, what you're doing, and everything like that. And I just think it's wrong you're acting that. You're going down there on your own, but when you get in the door, you're saying, I'm the Harbor Commission, and I know what's going on and all this. This is the information we're getting. And there's emails that we have in our possession that back up what I'm saying.
Thank you very much, John.
Wait a minute, I got one more thing here. In this resolution here, you say it was a probationary or tentative basis. No, it wasn't that. He was supposed to have a use review. That's all the letter says, a use review. It wasn't probationary for a year. A use review you were supposed to conduct a use review and find out if there was anything wrong with the list. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Would it be helpful if I framed the issue, and I was planning on giving us a short little report to, since I hear silence, maybe it'd be helpful. Just want to clarify that following the analysis and discussion, the analysis of evidence and the discussion of the three captains hoist issue at your March 4th meeting, the resolution you're now being presented with is merely and purely and solely affirming the factual findings you already made at your March 4th meeting. There's no new discussion or no new analysis being presented for you now by staff. There's no new facts before you being provided to base your decision on. There's no new discussion or analysis necessary to inform an adoption of this or consideration of this resolution.
Thank you for that clarification. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to adopt and affirm factual findings made during the Harbor District March 4th, 2015 public meeting regarding Three Captain Sea Products' request to maintain a second hoist on Johnson Pier.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
No.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Paravano?
No.
President Brennan?
Aye. Next, we have item 13, which is agreement with search firm BHI Consulting, and acting general manager Grundy is going to give the report.
Thank you. As you recall, this is just the background on it. This was BHI Consulting was the search firm the board used and has been using it for the general manager search, and also most recently also had the acting general manager position included in that. This is to amend the account, or augment the account for an additional $10,500 because of the extra services requested by the board.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this?
I do. So this augmentation should be done by now. I mean, there's not going to be any more expenses or invoices on this PO, purchase order.
That would be correct as far as I know.
And we still have the outstanding remainder of the contract for the general manager search. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion or questions?
Clarifying question. So the reason why we're adding this $10,500 is because the process took longer than we expected, correct? That's sort of why.
For the acting part of it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And what do you mean for the acting part? You mean for the interim? or-
Interim.
Interim, sorry.
For the interim, okay. So can I get a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 1215, agreement with search firm BHI Consulting.
And is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Paravano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 14, special use permit for the Coastside Fishing Club. We have a memo from acting harbor master Jim Marlowe.
You have a memo from you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
I'm curious about the event. Has this event been held before? in the
Yeah,
past?
actually, it's an ongoing event at our facility. They missed a couple years in transition. We started it ourselves as a crew in 2009, I think, and we did it for a couple of years. And it was starting to evolve into a pretty big derby. So Coastside Fishing stepped in. They said they would like to take it over. So they have done that, and they have a fishing derby also at Pillar Point. And we've waived the fees the last 3 times they've put it on. It's really good for the community. It's a great way to promote our facility. So I'm urging the commission to please go ahead and waive the fees.
Thank you for that. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special use permit for the Coastside Fishing Club and waive the fees associated with the event.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David? Aye. Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvana?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. And next we have item 15, discussion and possible approval of draft letter to BCDC expressing concern about increased sand mining in San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, we were asked by the public to comment on a decision made by BCDC, the Bay Conservation and Development Commission. And this letter drafted by Commissioner Caravano and myself, who are committee members on the Beach Replenishment Committee, is in response to 3 different permit applications for sand mining in central San Francisco Bay and Sassoon Bay that were approved by BCDC unanimously on April 16, 2015. And with that, the mining companies will actually remove approximately 5 times as much sand from the bay compared to what is estimated to be delivered through to the Delta or Sacramento, San Joaquin rivers and other smaller tributaries. And this letter would be voicing our concern, similar to what the City of Pacifica and other agencies have already submitted. And I will just go ahead and read the letter real quick. It's a short 3-paragraph letter. Dear Commission members, the Board of Harbor Commissioners is concerned about the recent decision to permit further sand mining in San Francisco Bay. Sediment flows through the delta and smaller tributaries into San Francisco Bay and continues from there to open ocean beaches along San Francisco and the northern part of San Mateo County. However, a sharp long-term decrease in sediment supply to San Francisco Bay has occurred due to modifications of rivers and the delta. The rate of sand mining has not decreased proportionately with the decreasing sand supply. Especially during the ongoing drought, we would expect the amount of sediment coming into San Francisco Bay to be less than in normal years. Sand mining in San Francisco Bay should only be permitted at a rate that does not exceed replenishment. Good estimates for sediment loads coming into the bay have been made previously, but these sediment loads cannot support the mining demands in the Central Bay and Sassoon Bay. Excessive mining will adversely affect shorelines and possibly shoreline restoration projects, especially since maintenance dredging also has to be considered. Aggregate sand mining is not the only way that sand is removed from the bay. Previous bathymetry studies have indicated that the reduction in sand mining by 71% after 2007 left the bay floor with a slight net accretion and minor changes to 2014. Increasing the amount of sand to be removed again is concerning, and we would recommend further studies to be conducted to enhance our understanding of sediment processes in the bay before increasing sand mining is allowed.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion?
I was just kind of curious, if they're talking about mining sand and we have this massive dredging problem, can they come in a little closer occasionally and benefit us? Or could there be some dredging and correspondingly would say, well, you can take some from out there, but you have to take some from here, even if we pump it up on our shore where we need it in our harbors. I just find it, this doesn't affect our harbor district strongly, whereas it could be a benefit to things that Mr. Merlo has going on his side.
Yeah, it will definitely affect Oyster Point Marina more than it will Pillow Point Harbor. And, you know, honestly, I don't really know what the Port of Oakland does with their dredged spoils and if they fit the criteria. The sand mined is used for construction material, and I don't know if the dredged material that the Port of Oakland has to bring up to maintain the shipping channel actually qualifies in the same quality. But, you know, I think there to really have a sustainable approach to the sediment management in San Francisco Bay, they need to look at other options. So that's why, you know, I went ahead and wrote the letter in support of voicing our concerns.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Through the chair, thank you. I just would like to respond to Commissioner David's question about what the Port of Oakland does. Obviously, we dredge on a regular basis because we have to keep the channels at a regular minus 50 feet so that the vessels could come in and out of the bay. And those dredges are used for wetlands restoration. So they're basically recycled back to restore wetlands, and also for community use. For example, a lot of people don't realize, but the golf course, which is located near Oakland International Airport, was created, that entire golf course was created from dredge spoils from the channel. So sort of creative community uses and wetlands restoration.
Okay, thank you. So I just had a couple of quick comments. I appreciate the content of the letter, and I think that the district is fortunate to have a commissioner that's a marine biologist who can help us craft letters like this, and we can feel confident about the science that's included in them. So I appreciate that, wanted to acknowledge it. I'd feel a little bit better about this letter being stronger if we could tie it back to ways that this might impact the harbor district, or talk a little bit about what the district is. And I don't want it to be a really long letter, but maybe a couple sentences introducing what the harbor district is, because I don't think the harbor district interacts directly with BCDC regarding letter writing too frequently, although there may be opportunities to do that more in the future. And so strengthening that relationship would be very advantageous for the district, and it might be nice to have just a little couple of introductory friendly sentences. So I'm okay with approving the letter, but I would hope that that could be added to it, and I trust that Commissioner David and Commissioner Paravano could do that without any further review. So that's sort of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I'll definitely accommodate that.
Okay. So can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the letter to BCDC regarding the increase of sand mining in San Francisco Bay.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Abstain.
Commissioner Paravano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Okay, so next we have item 16, which is outreach event with the College of San Mateo to promote sustainable seafood Saturday. And the report is going to be by Commissioner David.
Yeah, on a more uplifting note now. So this is not an outreach event with the College of San Mateo, it's potentially at the College of San Mateo, and Commissioner Mateusz and myself, we would like to plan an event that would promote sustainably caught local seafood and give credit to the work fishermen have accomplished. And we were looking for a catchy name, and Sustainable Seafood Saturday was the best we could come up with, but we're open for suggestions. So in front of the board tonight is only an educational event, potentially at the College of San Mateo, to approve, but we were also thinking about maybe tag teaming with some more fishermen at Pillar Point Harbor and have an additional taste and touch event, but permission for that would be requested from the Harbor District separately. So today we're really only talking about the educational event. The possibility for an event chair or keynote speaker would be Paul Greenberg. I actually talked to him through email. He is an author and has written regularly for the New York Times and published several books. I think the most famous ones or popular ones were For Fish and American Catch. So I was pretty thrilled that he was considering coming out here and supporting the Harbor District for this event. We would probably have to pay for his travel expenses and an honorarium, so likely we will look for a less expensive speaker. But it's just great to see that the efforts that the local fishermen put into sustainably caught fish, that they're recognized, and it makes me very enthusiastic about putting on an event that will support that. So we would basically have two parts of this event: one indoor event with interviews or PowerPoint presentations, something lively and interacting that will promote the accomplishments regarding sustainability and the environment. We can focus on the economic value for San Mateo County of the fish being caught and the benefits of seafood as part of a human diet. We could have a physician or representative from the Department of Public Health give a presentation. We could have someone talk about the quality of local seafood and possibly invite someone from the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment to give a presentation. But overall, we want to help basically a local market thrive, because it's still baffling to me when I think that 95% of the seafood that Americans consume is imported, and I think 2/3 of the high quality seafood that is caught in America goes overseas for export. So there's a big disconnect, and people don't know enough about it, and they don't realize that they have a choice every time they go to a restaurant, every time they go to the supermarket, or coming out to Pillow Point Harbor and buying fresh fish off the boat. So I think that's why an event like an educational event to the residents of San Mateo County is important. And we would also have an outdoor portion where we could have booth and the fishermen could display, for example, their gear types to show the diversity of fish that is caught at Pillow Point Harbor. We could display fisheries management models and information even to increase the demand for fish, of fresh seafood at Oyster Point Marina, and possibly have fresh fish sales there in the future that attract more visitors. I was thinking maybe we can include Seafood Watch from Monterey Bay, or even Fondini Partners and Fish Line. But all of that, I talked to the College of San Mateo, and most importantly, the facility rental will be waived for the Harbor District if we have that event there. The cost, we would basically incur insurance for half a day, but the last time I organized an event there, it was really minimal, like $100 or something like that. We would have to pay for IT setup since our event would be on a Saturday, and they don't provide the IT service on a Saturday without extra cost. So I put in a not to exceed amount of $1,000, but it will more likely be closer to $500. And the organization will be conducted completely by Tom and myself and some fishermen, and this will not involve any staff time. And even though you will, of course, all be invited to this event, invited to come. So, are there any questions?
Are there any questions or discussion?
I have a question and a suggestion. I think this is a great idea, and it certainly does bring closer the idea of a very active food movement where it connects to the consumer with the producer. In terms of the cost, I would feel better if the cost were to, if it was written it was not to exceed the $500.
Okay.
It's just my experience in the past with events like this. They tended to be more runaway events, and since there's quite a few months between now and when the event's going to be held in September, that things could very well change. And I think having it reduced down to $500 will probably be more compatible with the actual cost of the event.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
I have a couple of things. So if Paul Greenberg is willing to do it, I think it would be interesting to hear later what that would cost, so the board could consider that. Or if there's some other awesome speaker who, would cost a little money, it would be good to know what our options are. And
I can give you an estimate. It would probably be around $5,000. Travel expenses and honorarium.
To have him speak?
Yeah.
And do you think...
I just knowing that he's interested and would support our event was,
makes you feel good.
Yeah.
How many people can the event accommodate? Like if we had a big name speaker, what would we be able to accommodate?
So I know that we could have any auditorium within the campus for free. So, but those go up, I think maximum capacity is 150. If we want to go larger, we would have to go with a ballroom that accommodates more people, and that is not handled by the person I talked to. I think that's overseen by the college association, the oversight committee. So I would have to do more research if that's possible too.
Okay,
at no cost.
But 150 people is about the max of what you've looked into so far. Okay. Well, first, I just really wanted to thank Commissioner David and Commissioner. Yeah, sure. Bring it up as soon as you have it.
I think this is a really exciting project. I think it's fabulous. One way you might be able to underwrite it is to talk to places like Booley and to Whole Foods and promote it and ask them for donations, because you're going to certainly be helping their marketing with for local seafood. They pride themselves on that. So I would suggest reaching out to some of them. There's just so many Lunardi's, there's so many specialty markets in the area that do pride themselves on selling fresh, good seafood. And I bet you could spend a couple months underwriting and really turn it into perhaps an annual event. I think this is a great idea. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So I was about to say that I just wanted to express my thanks to Commissioner Mateusz and Commissioner David for working on this. I know how much energy goes into planning events like this, and I just also want to say that I don't have any problem with the cost not to exceed $1,000, because I can imagine that there will be some things that come up. So I think for me, I'm comfortable with that number. I did want to mention though that I noticed in here it looked like there was and I've kind of been reading between the lines of what you were saying. It sounds like there was an idea of having a second event at Pillar Point Harbor at a different date.
Yeah, in October.
Okay. So September, and then maybe a follow-up event in October. So I really like that idea, because when I first read through this, and I thought, okay, well, great to have it at the College of San Mateo, which, you know, I love the College of San Mateo. I was just there today swimming, so I really love that place. But it would be great to have an event at Pillar Point Harbor too. So I really like the idea of having a pair of events, and I would like to see the district not miss this outreach opportunity. And I know that, you know, planning events like this takes a lot of energy, and it would be great if our staff could work with the commissioners involved to think about ways to get the word out about the event. One thing that we haven't done well to date is use social media with regards to messaging. You have something, I see.
No, go finish.
Oh, okay. So, you know, I know we've heard from Fondini in the past, and I know there's other people out there, companies out there that could help the district in their outreach efforts. I think that's an area where we really need to improve, and this event is the perfect opportunity for us to do some viral marketing, some social media marketing, and work with the local media to really get the word out, and so that we're not just educating the people that show up, but also the people that hear about the event, and then will come to, if they can't make the first event, they'll come to the second event. So I just want to make sure that we don't miss any opportunities to make this event the best that it can be, and that's all I've got. So.
My comment?
Yeah.
It was just that when you were mentioning Pillar Point, I don't believe John or I have talked about our tenant event for this coming year, and it might be something we could link together so that we, you know, obviously we do a food event type thing, but it's also how to link it with fresh seafood and whatever else we can do there. So it could be a win-win on both situations.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I did also like the public comment suggestion about working with seafood retailers and also, of course, our local fishermen, so that people at these events can experience some of our fresh local seafood. So can I get a motion?
I'm sorry, through the chair.
Yeah.
Through the chair, John, when is craft season open?
November, commercial's November 15th.
But
Sport first Saturday in November.
just, so if you're thinking of trying to generate sort of interest, you might want to think about it. And of course, the weather.
We were actually trying to do this when it's a little calmer, so more fishermen can participate. And
very good.
That was, I talked to them, and those two dates, those two suggestions were coming from them when salmon season is winding down and before crab season starts up, because they won't be able to commit to anything when they start fishing.
But it was a good suggestion.
And our idea for the College of San Mateo was to really bring people from the other side of the hill too, that, you know, if we just had it at Pillow Point, I think we would be preaching to the choir, because a lot of these people that come to Pillow Point already know a lot about it, and we want to reach the people that don't know that much about it yet, and that's why we decided this location would be beneficial. And, you know, to advertise then the Pillow Point Harbor event there, I think that would work best to have these events combined. So I'll move to approve an outreach event at the College of San Mateo to promote Sustainable Seafood Saturday. And to not exceed an expense of $500.
Well, I was trying to get a little comment in there. I don't see why we couldn't also have the 1,000. I mean, you know, you've run the expenses. You know it's going to be closer to 500. You thought it was 500, and I don't see a problem with putting the 1,000 as a contingency.
I can bring it back if I haven't looked into what it would cost to, if we would have to rent the tents for the booth outside. I don't know what that would cost, or if we would incur costs for that. That's why I wanted to have a little more wiggle room, but when I have that information, we can say 500 now, and I could bring it back to the board and ask for another 500.
Are you making an amendment, or are you having a discussion? I just want to make sure.
We need a second.
I'll second. Are you making an amendment?
No.
All right. So any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Parabano?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Next, we have item 17, which is the draft preliminary operating capital budget for fiscal year 2015-16. And we so far have held 2 budget workshops, one at Oyster Point Marina at the Oyster Point Yacht Club, and one on the coast side at the Granada Community Services District boardroom. Does anybody have any questions, comments, discussion about the budget? And tonight is yes.
I just wanted to mention also that the preliminary budget, our operating budget and capital budget, have also been presented March 18th in the agenda packet, April 1st in the agenda packet, and then the workshop you mentioned on April 15th, the special meeting at the Finance Committee on the 29th of April, and then last week's special COSI meeting on the 30th, just so that it's very clear for the record that it's been out there 5 times.
And so tonight, we've been told by our staff that we legally have to approve the draft preliminary budget, although there is still an opportunity to make changes to that budget before the final approval of the budget, which would be at the second meeting in June. Is that correct?
It would be June 17th if you canceled the June 13th.
Okay, which we did, so June 17th. So if there's no discussion, Yes.
I'm sorry, I just have a comment. I got some numbers from our finance director, and I would like to just bring something to the attention of my fellow commissioners and also just the public, that I want to run a few numbers. Legal costs of the Harbor District. For fiscal year 2012 and 2013, this isn't in the packet, this is from our finance director. From 2012 to 2013, we spent a total of $16,000, okay? That's important to remember, $16,000. This month alone, from bills and claims, we approved $26,038. So if you look at sort of historically, we are about to approve a budget. We're making a decision to approve a budget for fiscal year 2015-2016 for $213,000 in legal costs. So if you look at from 2012 until now, and you fast forward to this budget we're considering, that is an increase of 1,152%. That is staggering, and it should really, really bother everyone. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but I really would like and caution, I'd like everyone to know, and I caution my fellow commissioners that while we may not be able to control aging infrastructure, which has to be addressed, and we have to deal with things that are falling apart at the harbor, things that need to be replaced, one thing that we can control are our legal costs. There are ways to do it. There are very specific ways to do it, and policies that we can enact to reduce legal costs. And I'm not trying to put you out of a job, Mr. Miller, but really we can take a hold of it, because 1,152% in 3 years is crazy, really. So I'm going to say enough about that for now. But I just wanted to put that out there as we look to approve this budget. And I am going to approve it because, you know, we have to pay for these things. So
I just want to comment that while I agree with the concerns about our escalating legal fees, I think you have to look at a few more years than what's been represented tonight to get a better picture of how our legal fees have varied over the years. They do go up and down depending on pending litigation and various issues, some of which are in control, or the board has some control over, some of which, you know, are you can't always predict what types of litigation is going to come your way. And, you know, there's some amount of control that the board has over it, but you know, some things are sort of unforeseen. And I do have a spreadsheet that shows more years than what was just represented, and so I've seen how our fees have gone up and down over the years, and I think that if we're going to represent, you know, the district's legal fees, we have to look at a longer time period to get a better sense of what the norm is, and not that there really is a norm, but I do agree that that's an area where we need to, you know, kind of come up with a plan to get the costs under control. So is there any further discussion?
I move that we approve the draft preliminary operating capital budget for fiscal year 2015, 2016, and approve resolution and adopt resolution 14-15.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabana?
Aye.
President Brennan?
Aye. Next we have item 18, which is mural for electrical panel in front of Pillar Point Harbor Master's office. We have a report from Acting Harbor Master John Draper.
Well, you have my report. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this project that we'd like to see.
Do I hear any discussion or questions from the commissioners?
I was kind of excited to hear about this, but one of the things for directional signage at the harbor, I think it'd be nice whoever or however you decide on your artist, party boats this way, buy crab this way, buy salmon this way. You know, somehow make reference to Princeton Seafood Fish Market so that it becomes directional arrows as well. How many times do people come up to you and ask you, hey, which way do we go?
We do plan on incorporating some of that. She gave us a rough sketch. We are going to do some of that, but also on the restroom building, we do have that already. So we want to do a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more, you know, for the visitors and the users of the facility.
Okay.
Any other, yes?
How was she selected, just out of curiosity?
She's a local artist. She did work at Catch Joann's, at Huck Finn's, when Huck Finn was there, Princeton Seafood. And we were talking about this, and she overheard us talking, and she said she would love to do it. And we've seen her artwork, and everybody loves it at the harbor. And she gave us a great price as far as we were concerned, so we decided to pull it forward. Actually, we were going to do this project, but you guys at one of your meetings said if it was a contractual service, that we had to bring it back to you. It's way underneath the authorization for the general manager to approve it, but since she is considered a contractual person, we have to bring it back to the board. So that's the reason why you have it. Otherwise, it probably would have been done.
Okay. So in my day job life, I do large format murals and signage and wayfinding signage, a lot of directional signage for corporate headquarters, interior, exterior, braille, you name it. And I also work with the San Francisco Arts Commission. And so I have a little bit of background in the process for how artists are selected for public works projects. And for example, with the Arts Commission in San Francisco, they put out a call for artists. They have a website, and it's very competitive. There are a lot of artists out there who really want to do these types of projects. Number one, the artists really need the money. Number two, they're high visibility locations, and so it's really a great way for them to get their name out there. So I am not very comfortable with the way the process has worked, because I see this as a tremendous opportunity for somebody to have a high visibility location for their artwork potentially. The board hasn't really, let's just say, this is news to me. I mean, I hadn't given this any thought till I saw it in the packet. And signage and, well, let's just say a comprehensive wayfinding system and signage was on the list of things that when the Marketing Communications Committee tried to have a meeting, they wanted, the people that showed up wanted to agendize a signage system for both Oyster Point Marina and Pillar Point Harbor on the next agenda. So because we've been dealing with the budget, that meeting hasn't happened yet because there have been 3 Finance Committee meetings in short order, but I know that Commissioner Bernardo and I are planning to have a meeting soon as we can schedule it. And I think signage systems and wayfinding signage and, you know, graphic arts are something that committee really ought to be involved with, so that the committee can make recommendations back to the board. Obviously, it's up to the board what they decide. But I just, you know, we have the Coastal Arts League here on the coast side, and there are a lot of artists that would love to do a public project. For me, it's not about the cost. It's just about fairness and, you know, creating an opportunity for artists to apply. So I would feel more comfortable if we could delay this for now. Obviously, this structure needs to be painted. So like, I get that there needs to be, it sounds like there needs to be a coat of paint on it. I don't have any problem with that, but I would rather bring this back at a later date so that there could be a proper call for artists and more of an opportunity for local artists to participate if that's the direction that the board decides to go. And if the direction for the board is more of a wayfinding signage system, then that needs to be considered as well, and that would be a job more for a graphic designer. So, there are things to consider here, and I just don't think we're prepared tonight to move forward with this, based on what I'm seeing here. So those are my thoughts about it. I don't know if anybody else shares those concerns, but I'd be interested to hear.
She is a local artist in Half Moon Bay and is on the Pulse Side artist group or whatever, so we are using a local artist. She said 1,500 not to exceed 1,700. That's why we put it through. And I said, since you guys have to see all the contractual services now on, it came before you. If we have to go out for an RFP, our staff time to deal with all this, if the lawyer gets involved, I can see that cost is going to be 2, 3, 4 times the amount that we're asking to spend on this. So, and I understand your concerns, get other artists involved, but
well,
it's totally up to the board.
There's just a standard process for how these types of things are done with public agencies, and they all vary. But in general, I'm certainly not comfortable with just handing this project to an artist without putting out a call for artists first. But I even more important, I think it's critical that the Marketing Communications Committee have an opportunity to meet and discuss what the best use of the space is, and if it's decided that we need a map and we need wayfinding signage and we need information about where charter boats are located, or maybe some information about how to buy fresh fish off our local fishermen's boats, and then where to take it to get it, get their crab cooked and cleaned, whatever the case. I'm just throwing out ideas. I just think that I'm not comfortable with rushing this through tonight. I would rather have the committee give it some consideration first, because it was something that the public members who showed up at the committee were very concerned with. And I don't see the rush to move forward with this right at this moment. I think that once you put in public art, good luck getting rid of it. So it's not something you want to do lightheartedly. Once you put in somebody's art, you need to respect the art, and you can't just willy-nilly paint over it. So it's an important decision, and that's kind of all I've got. So any other comments from the board?
Well, for clarification, how quickly could a call for artists go out in which Sabrina could also submit? But I'd hate to see this punted down the road too long, but what's the quickest we could possibly make this happen through the public process?
Well, I think we should have the Communication Marketing Committee meet before we put out the call for artists, because if we're putting out a call for artists, we need to give specific criteria about what it is we're looking for. If we're looking for somebody to paint a whimsical mural, that's a certain type of artist. If we're looking for somebody to present us with proposals for more of a graphic design type of project that includes mapping and text content that would give information about where this or that is located, or some educational information, then that's a different type of proposal. So I would really like to strongly suggest that it go to the committee, so that the committee can make a suggestion back to the board, and then ultimately it's up to the board, and then at that point we would put out the call for artists. But I don't see what the big rush is. I think it needs to be well done, whatever we do, versus slam something together here.
Through the chair, just if I may, and I completely understand where you're coming from, because I do run the public art program for the Port of Oakland. And so, yes, it can be very time consuming, and it can be time intensive and costly. So having said that, though, absent a public art policy here at the district and having a process by which we can, select artists and have a committee do a panel and go through all of that, which can take, who knows how that, I don't know how long that would take, especially with the district right in the middle of a move. This could, I don't know when we're gonna see this happen. So I would like to just, for this particular instance, and again, until we could create some sort of public art policy or whatever for the future, I'm inclined to just move forward with this local artist, Sabrina Muscott. I don't know who she is, but I'm sure she's really good. For time, staff time, staff sanity and cost, I would be willing to move this forward. That's just my own.
I'll second it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for this proposal, we're only talking about the
One
PG,
transformer box.
one PG&E power station. Would you think this would lend itself greatly for other purposes like wayfinding signage and?
Well, as I said, we have wayfinding signage on the public restrooms right across the way from this.
Okay.
We could do on both sides of the restroom. It tells you all the restaurants, the kayak company, map of the harbor, where the docks are, all the docks that are lettered. We can take those signages and make it a graphic. No, I don't know what I'm sorry, I'm not an artist. Whether it's, it's not whimsical, but straightforward. Go here, go there.
Wayfinding is what it's called.
Wayfinding. We already have that, and all the restaurants are listed on that. All the docks are listed on that. And if you look across, you can at our board at the window, it says go to G dock. You can look at that map and say, okay, G dock's the second one on the left.
The problem, John, is that the placement of that signage is not in an area that's as visible as it could be. And so the placement of our wayfinding signage is, the public has a hard time locating it. And I've been studying this. We need to improve the location of our wayfinding signage so that the visitors can actually see it and use it. And so, putting it where it's convenient, I understand it gets put where it is because it's been there a long time or whatnot, but, I think that this is a really primo location, a very visible location, especially now that the tree got removed. And it's a great opportunity to improve our signage system. And I'm not against necessarily having a mural there, but I'm sorry, the presentation that we've received, this artwork, is not professional looking. So
It's supposed to be whimsical.
I'm concerned about that. I think we're trying to make improvements here, and I'm afraid that's not what we're going to be doing. And then we're going to have this artwork, and we're not going to be able to get rid of it. So I'm not comfortable with this as it is. So that's just my input, and it's whatever the board wants to do.
Would there be an option to do like a temporary opportunity for this artist? Maybe she would also be happy to do that for a period of 1 year and have her name on there. That could be an option until the marketing committee develops a more comprehensive plan.
If that's what the board chooses, I'll let her know that. And she'll be happy because when Catch Joanne bought Huck Finn's, they painted over her murals and she had no problems with it.
So just to remind the board, there's been a huge controversy in Half Moon Bay about the removal of artwork from a park on Main Street. And artists get very upset. I'm not saying this artist, but artists can get very upset when their public art is removed. So it's not something that you can do lightly. And in addition to that, I work on signage installations. The turnaround time for producing murals and signage is incredibly fast. So like a turnaround time for a project to cover a space of this scale would be like 3 days. So we're not talking about a huge lead time in getting the graphics produced. It's more an issue of deciding what's appropriate to put as the graphic. So it's not as if the production is a lengthy process. So, and there are a number of different ways you could cover, you could cover that space in a way that wouldn't fade, because it's going to get a lot of sun. There are going to be UV factors, and those are all things that we need to consider in the decision of, the type of graphic that goes there, as well as the content. So, I would just, I'd like to see it done well. I think it's a reflection on the overall improvements that the board is making on the facilities, and it's something that's really visible. And if it was a whimsical graphic, then it's a place where people might get their snapshot done for their Facebook posts or whatever. And in that case, it'd be good to have the district's logo in there somewhere. I mean, there are different things that need to be thought out. And I'm sorry, but this does not a proposal make. This thing in our board packet, I'm not impressed by this at all. And I'm used to looking at proposals from artists on a regular basis. And this is just, I don't find this to be acceptable. So that's my 2 cents, and I appreciate you guys listening, because I am passionate about public art. I love public art.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 18.
Second.
Roll call. Commissioner Barrera?
Aye.
Commissioner David?
Aye.
Commissioner Mateusz?
Aye.
Commissioner Carvana?
Aye.
President Brennan?
No. Okay. Item 19, which is
Scott Grundy's report.
yeah, Scott's report. And Scott, if you could,
I will.
you've got a lot in here. If you could go over all of it, that'd be great.
Just give me a moment here to kind of organize my notes here. I think the real highlights here, there's a couple things I'm going to ask when I'm done, Marcia, is there's some classes coming up for potential for the board. I'll be sending out an email as well this week with classes for various things that she's going to bring up tonight as well. And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because there's things like the, what was one of the topics? Like harassment prevention training, things of that nature, that just so the board's aware of those classes. Short version on the one topic, which was Romeo Pier. I put a background in there on that. Basically, the short version of this is that the Romeo Pier, we have it in our budget for doing something. But one of the problems we've now run into is that, if you recall, about almost over a year ago, we were wanting to tear it down. So we got a demo plan going. And at that time, we applied for what's called an emergency demo permit of sorts from the Coastal Commission. They have now notified us no, because we waited too long. The emergency, obviously, it wasn't on fire enough to get rid of. And I was not expecting that kind of a letter. I figured we'd be able to keep moving forward, and that's what happened. We just got that recently.
I'm sorry, can you re-explain that? Because I need more information. I'm not fully understanding it.
Okay, coastal, it's in the packet, but Peter applied for what's called an emergency coastal development permit, so that we could tear down Romeo Pier. And we did that, or he did that at the same time I was getting the design specs for our demo. And that was back in 2014. And when that occurred, Coastal Commission was considering that emergency permit.
And they just got back to you now about that original request for permit? Have you been following up with them regularly? I mean,
I'm bringing this to the board so that, because you folks asked me the question, so I'm trying to tell you, that's why I'm trying to bring it up to you before I go do more. And, or our new interim GM does more. And the activity here is basically, I believe we need to, from what they've told me so far in my follow-up calls, is that we will now have to go to the coastal development permit process to do that. And if you look at the capital budget, we're also looking at the fact that we know that it's going to probably take up to 6 months to a year to get that. And so if we apply for that coastal development permit to get that rolling with our new budget year, with your approval to do that in the upcoming budget year, if you approve the funding as we get to the July 1 date, what my hope would be is we apply for the CDP and again ask for the emergency version of that. But even so, we had the specs so we could go out for bid, so that somewhere in that process of the first 6 months, we should be able to go out to bid, get a price. We have a knowledge of what it's going to cost. And that's part of the game that you have to do with this. And, the Coastal Commission, no offense to them, but they're not the fastest team in town when it comes to getting permits approved. And so going back to this process again, we have to reapply.
So with the emergency...
Staff's got to find the time to do that.
With the emergency permit,
it was a short form type, it's kind of like saying...
no, I know what it is,
Yeah,
but
okay.
did they send you a letter? And I don't see that in
I believe it
here.
was an email.
Could
And
you?
I will forward that on.
Yeah, if you could forward that to the whole board, that would be
Yeah.
great.
I can put a note to that too.
And then, going forward, if there could be maybe tighter communication between the staff and the commission staff. It has not been my experience that it takes years for the Coastal Commission staff to respond to a permit request. So I don't know the whole story here, but obviously there needs to be communication back and forth from our staff to their staff.
I do not disagree with you. I think part of the problem though is that at the end of the year, basically I moved into the acting role. The plate got really full and those were things I was working on and they literally pushed aside to take on being the acting. And these are some of my laundry lists that I have of things I gotta get back to. And that's what I'm looking forward to once, our new interim general manager comes on board so I can get rolling with these things. The other one is the trail, West Trail. The other short version on that is that I will be coming forward to, I just had an email today, I haven't even had time to really read it yet, except that our GHD is our consultant for this project, and there's been an ongoing battle, it appears, between the Coastal Commission again, and what's the culprit. If you walk the trail, there's a section, and I'm sorry I do not have a photo of this, but there is a section where the culvert, or maybe I did put a picture. I did this the other day, so I'm sorry, let's get to that one. The 17. Yeah, okay, on photo 1, you see the culvert, and then on photo 3, you see the wear out snow fence that's there for emergency protection for people. And then other issues as well of water and rainfall. Well, as you're all aware, we haven't had much rain in this state, let alone this area, for quite some time. And the Coastal Commission is saying that basically we should be able to cap off this big pipe that's coming off the hill and not have to build the culvert piece on the trail. The engineers, I have asked them to do a version of, if we just omit that from it, make the trail fixed, don't worry about and cap off the pipe, so that we basically do not follow their design for that little piece. And right now, there's a debate going on between the engineers and us. And I'm at the point where if they do not follow further, I will have to terminate them.
The engineers?
The engineers. And I hate to do that because all the work that's been done so far, because it's been a long and windy road. I mean, I came here and Peter was in charge of this project and it was going in that process when I got here. And that was 3 years and about 3 weeks ago. And so this has been a very long, long process, and I hate to eliminate the engineering firm that's carried the water on this the whole way through. But I'm at the point where I just want to inform the board that that's where I'm at soon here.
How much have we paid these engineers?
I'm sorry, if I could just interrupt for a moment. we're veering a little bit into the area that goes beyond sort of a general report from the acting general manager and into a specific item that if we're really going to discuss in more detail, should probably be agendized for a further conversation.
Right, and that's why I was saying I'd like to bring it back to the board, as this is purely informational right now, and I'm working on trying to give you an update for this. You had a question?
Not a question. I would like to just urge that we proceed with permitting for both of those projects and move them along as fast as possible. And, you know, you might have more of a chance to dedicate your time to that now. And, you know, I read the letter that GHD submitted where they're basically saying we're at an impasse with the Coastal Commission, and they give us 4 options. And I know we can't really discuss this in detail and vote on this today, but I would like to at least give staff some direction, because options 1, 2, and 4 are completely unacceptable to me. They are withdraw the project and leave the trail in its current condition.
Wait a minute. We just were told that we can't get into this discussion right now.
Well, we can give staff direction.
No, we bring it back. We should bring it back to where
I
we
was
can.
hoping to bring it back on the 20th.
Till we have, because we all need to have a full discussion about this. There needs to be a full discussion, and this should be agendized. Both of the two topics, the Romeo Pier should have its own agenda item, and we should have an agenda item for the West Shoreline Trail. I would like to be able to fully discuss both in detail, and I don't think we should be giving direction until we get a full report. And we need to see all the letters from the engineer. We need to see the letters from the Coastal Commission, and we need a path forward.
I agree and disagree, just for the sake of correction here, is that I think we need to stay in the focus of what's going on right now with the engineer. If we had to go back into all the emails, it's going to take a lot of time, which I'm trying to work on getting them to either say yes or no. And I'm just trying to inform you that the email I got today, I have to go forward with that discussion before I bring it back to the board.
Well, I think you're going to find that there's a lot of concern about the money that's been paid to them and the fact that it doesn't sound like we're getting any results. So in order to fully understand as much information as we can possibly provide the board with would be helpful, so everybody can get a full understanding of the picture, and then we can move forward. So the more information, the better as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to read it.
From the board then.
So do we need to request, does a board member need to request this as an agenda item? Or these two things?
I was planning on putting both items on the agenda.
Okay, and we're going to have a new interim general manager, so he can schedule that when he can fit it in.
Tomorrow morning to talk about agenda items.
Great.
At the same time, could you, if you bring this back and you have somebody from the Coastal Commission stand up in front of us and tell us why all of our projects are so incredibly delayed? It's just a question. If we can work that out later, we're not going to discuss it now, but I mean, I'd just like to hear why this happens.
So to comment on that, it's always a good idea to have a member of staff from the commission come in and give a presentation to the board and help educate the Harbor District Board and staff on the permit process. So I would strongly support that idea. However, I wouldn't attach it to a specific project. I think that to have a member of the Coastal Commission staff come in and give a presentation on emergency permits versus coastal development permit applications and whatnot would be very beneficial. I don't know that they have time to do that, but if they did, that would be something that I'm sure we'd all learn a lot from and would need to be an agenda item all on its own.
And I would like to recommend also that we bring them in at a time after the move. Well, right now we're trying. Sorry.
Okay. So is there anything else about this report that anybody wants to discuss?
Through the chair, I would just like to thank Scott for this report. I really, really like pages 3 and 4 because this really, I think, helps me know how many times I'm calling the district and taking up staff time. So I like this. And I know it took time to do this, so thank you for adding that to your plate, which is not shrinking, I know. Your growing plate of things, but this is great. This is just a really, it tells me that I spent 0.20, you know, of an hour with staff, you know, and it really, I love it. I just love it. It's like a great thing. So thank you.
So next we have item 20, which is...
I also had one, to say a couple things about class.
About which item?
Oh, that's I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, which item?
The class.
20. Okay. So we're on item 20 now, which is Director of Finance and Human Resources memo. Is that you?
It will just be a verbal and very short. Council has asked that we send out a reminder to the board as to the required classes, specifically AB 1, 2, 3, 4, the ethics training, and AB 1825, the harassment prevention training. There are two classes. The only reason I'm bringing this up now, there are two classes coming up in June. June 3rd is in Sacramento. That's the ethics training. The one that is exciting is on June 10th. There's a webinar. It's 2 hours long, and it satisfies AB 1825, the harassment prevention training. So I will get this information out into some format that the board can see. I will also send a list of other training classes. These are through the California Special Districts Association, who has excellent resources for us. So with that, that's my current report.
Could you, and maybe you can correct me if you don't have this information, but I know that probably some of us are more up to date on our training than others, so maybe you could send a reminder to individual board members if it looks like they're not in compliance, because of course we all want to be in compliance with state law and be up on our training.
So I will notify each individual board member as to what classes they have taken, when they took them, and then when they're due again. I just want to say that with this webinar for 2 hours for harassment prevention training, I think it's a nice opportunity on the 10th. So 6/3 in Sacramento and 6/10 online.
And you're going to email us about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So next we have, does anybody have any questions about item 20? Next we have item 21, which is a report by Acting Harbor Master Jim Merlo.
And you have my report, and then I'll take any questions. I have one comment.
Yes.
Actually, on item 16 that was on the agenda today. It'd be great if Oyster Point was involved in that too. We could have a seafood thing at Oyster Point also, that we'd be reaching people from San Mateo County. I could put that in.
Thank you for that. I think that's a good suggestion. So it looks like our occupancy is still in the same 62% ballpark right now. And is summer usually busier or slower?
It depends on fishing, actually. We got rid of a lot of derelict vessels in the last couple of years, and so our occupancy, if we look at the bottom line, dollars and cents, you'll see that our money has actually increased because now we don't have these vessels in there that are So our occupancy has gone up, but we've opened up a lot of slips that were unavailable to us before.
Is there any, and this might be a better question to ask Scott Grindy, but is there any news on the Spirit of Sacramento, the vessel that's...
The vessel arrest from the U.S. Marshals. I know as of the email I believe I saw on Friday or Monday that he has done the process to the ports. It's more just its process. So now we're waiting to hear what the next step is.
Okay. Could you be sure to update our new interim general manager on the details about...
Actually, we were speaking about a bunch of those things today.
Great. Okay, so next we have... Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to ask Jim if he could possibly say like 2 to 5 sentences about the cigarette program with San Mateo County.
Oh yeah, it's a great program. We've been at it for about a month now. So what they do is they come on, they do a sidewalk with us. I did it with the young lady, her name is Catherine, if I'm not mistaken. And so we did a sidewalk. We proposed some areas. One was our fishing pier to do a survey on how many cigarette butts are around, and the other was the ferry terminal area. The fishing pier area, when we first did the count, we had 150-something cigarette butts on the ground of the fishing pier. So if you think about that, that's what that end up on the ground. How many end up in the bay? We don't know. So the initial one is before there's receptacles put out there, they go around. We do 2 surveys. So we do one, and then 2 weeks later we do another one. We've completed those. Now we're waiting for the receptacles to come. We'll mount those in the strategic places and see if they really work or not. I think it's a great program, and looking forward to looking at the results. And Philippine is also participating in it.
And I just wanted to point out that the Pacifica Beach Coalition organized a harbor-wide cleanup for Earth Day at Pillar Point, and on top of 330 pounds of trash, they pulled out over 1,100 cigarette butts just that one day. So that's a lot of, toxic trash, a lot of plastic that's in the cigarette butts. And so I'm very happy to see that both harbors are actually helping this countywide cigarette program.
Yeah, it's something you don't even think about.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of it.
Great, thank you. So next we have item 22, which is Acting Harbor Master John Draper's report.
You have my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Can you update us on the medical cases?
Yes. So all 8 medical cases, we actually had, I think, a total of 13 that day were from the triathlon.
Oh.
There's something in the water that actually lacerated, I want to say, 2 bike accidents, a heart attack, and so there's 12 total lacerations, 8 of them that I actually responded to, because I was stationed down there for the event. As I said, something in the water, we don't know. We have a low tide on the 9th, the 8th and 9th, that we're actually going to walk out there and try to find what actually caused this and remove the item. We don't know if it's an old mooring, an old piece of the old pier that used to be out there, the old dock ramp, or some other piece of metal. But it was actually, they cut through the wetsuits. They were deep, wide lacerations. They actually had a heart attack. The guy actually was clinically dead. The good thing was there was a cardiologist who was running, who was right behind him, who was arrived on scene. Half Moon Bay, or Coastside Fire, had an engine there. AMR was there, and they actually brought him back, and he walked out of the hospital last week. He was 38 years old, and they did a double bypass on him. He had 2 plugged arteries in his heart.
Wow. So just to be clear, the heart attack had nothing to do with the lacerations?
No.
Okay. I just wanted,
it was after he did the swim, the run, and the bike.
Crossed the finish line and then
he crossed the finish line. As soon as he crossed the finish line, and they got a picture of him.
Yeah.
They took pictures of everybody, and so they have a picture of him running across the finish line, and as soon as the next person did, he just dropped over.
So when you guys go out to look for this sharp item, if you can't remove it, is there a way you could flag it or something? So there's some way.
Oh, we'll get it removed.
Okay.
We'll mark it off and get it at high tide with the boat. We'll go down there with cutting torches and cut it out below the sand line or whatever it takes.
Do you think it's pretty far out, or?
At low tide, the laceration, it'll be a lower tide, but the one was just below the knee on one lady. Most of them were on the feet. So I don't know if she actually tripped and fell on it, or, but most of the lacerations were on the feet.
Okay. So then it was pretty close in because they were already walking.
It would happen, yeah, the swim happened at low tide. So they had a deep water start.
I see.
And then when they came in, they were able to stand up. The water's only 3 or 4 feet deep and run back to the beach through the water. So we'll put wetsuits on and heavy boots and go out there and look for it.
Yeah, be careful. Okay, thank you for that update. On the positive note, things did go really well with the triathlon, I heard, other than the medical issues.
Yeah, we had an after meeting with all the agencies, CHP, sheriffs, AMR, Coastside Fire, the city of Half Moon Bay, their representatives. Caltrans was not there, but everybody said it went really good, and no complaints from the public at all this year, where last year we had several. So the start and finish, start in one place at the harbor this year made a big difference.
That's good. Okay, thank you. Next we have, where are we?
Committee reports.
Next page. Item G, Board of Harbor Commissioners. Item 23, committee reports. I don't know why Communications and Marketing Committee is on here.
You had stated at the last meeting that you were going to give a report, so I have to.
I can't give a report on that meeting because it wasn't, so maybe that was a misunderstanding. It wasn't considered an official Harbor District Committee meeting because we only had one commissioner show up for the meeting. Okay. So it's, so I'm not going to give a report on it. But like I said, Commissioner Bernardo and I need to get together and schedule an official marketing communications meeting soon so we can talk about signage and social media and websites and all that good stuff. And at the last meeting I gave a report on, or there was a report provided from the Finance Committee, and there'll be more to come on that. And the Finance Committee will be holding its next meeting the fourth Thursday of the month. And it will be held between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., but we don't have a time set. Yes?
What's happening that day, I'm in the office will be down from the 28th to the 1st, so there will be no staff there.
Yeah, so we'll just compile questions like we did last time and forward those on via email for a response, and then you guys can get to it when you can.
If you, I would just request if you have any questions that they come next week, we won't be able to be responsive for anything past next Thursday. So.
Well, the questions would come from the committee after the committee meets.
Okay.
So you would get the questions probably sometime in June.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Any other committee reports?
I have a committee report. So since the meeting minutes from March 30th are in the agenda packet today, it's a good time to give a report for that meeting with an update of the permanent general manager search. And on March 30th, we met to basically look into a way to find the best process for the interview process for a permanent general manager that would include a broad cross-section of the public while maintaining confidentiality of the candidates. And so we really put a lot of thoughts into this process, and I think that item on the agenda took almost, 2 hours before we basically came up with a good design for that process and voted to approve it. And it's basically, we have the whole pool of candidates, may it be 50 or 60 that we'll receive at the end of our advertising period, will be reduced by the search committee to 10 candidates just by looking at the resume and conducting phone interviews. And then those 10 candidates will be invited to join us here for 3 days. On the first day, they will be interviewed by a panel of 7 to 9 members from the community and public agencies. And they will all sign confidentiality agreements, and they will all use ranking sheets during the interviews, and then basically narrow down the field of candidates to 5 or 6. And those candidates will be informed the same day that they advance to the second day, where they meet a technical panel consisting of 3 to 5 technical members from surrounding harbors. And they will also have signed confidentiality agreements and use ranking sheets to then basically come up with a list of 3 finalists that will be interviewed by the full board on the evening of the third day. And that's an important day for all the commissioners and for legal counsel. We reserved July 30th, which is a Thursday, as the third day for the interview process, where the board will basically determine the final candidate. And I have already started reaching out to people and have gotten a lot of positive and encouraging responses. Actually, people said that they really appreciated us putting so much effort into involving the public and listening to public feedback in that selection process. And for the community panel, I have already confirmed the San Mateo County Convention and Visitor Bureau, Surfrider Foundation, the City of Half Moon Bay, the City of South San Francisco, the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association, of the Sierra Club, and the Coastside Land Trust. And
they've confirmed?
They have confirmed.
Who confirmed from the Sierra Club?
I'm not sure if, we can talk about that more. I'm not sure if we should put the name of the specific person out, because
I was told that they did not confirm. So I think we need more clarity on this process. And I really think it needs to be written and published, because it's really hard for me to absorb everything you're saying right now.
It is published in the meeting minutes for the March 30th meeting. It is in your board packet today. I also have copies here, actually.
I've read that, but it doesn't give this level of detail at all.
Well, we advanced from there. Like, I have started, inviting people. I also want to say that for the technical panel, we have confirmed the Port of Redwood City, the Port of San Francisco, and the City of Monterey Harbor. And, some people haven't responded to me, responding to your suggestion from the last meeting to ask the Coastal Commission. They have responded, and they have concerns as a regulatory agency with a conflict of interest, so they denied. But, if I can send a list to all commissioners of people that have confirmed to be part of the panels.
Well, I think what I'm saying is that it should be public information about how these panels are comprised. So there shouldn't be any confusion about what groups are represented on the panels. And that needs to be published, and I think that whole process should be published on the district's website, in the area where we have information about the executive search, so that it's a very transparent process. We heard feedback from the public at the last board meeting that there were concerns about the transparency of the process. And because in the past, when, for example, Harbor Master Grindy was interviewed, the interview took place, and the people that were invited to interview were members of the California Maritime Infrastructure Bank, which was a bank that our general manager was the president and chair of. And there are a lot of questions about the transparency of that process. That wasn't discovered until someone put in a PRA request and found emails that explained how that process happened. So it's really important to me to make sure that going forward, the district operate in a very transparent way in this process. I would hate to see anybody call and question to the process, and there's no reason for that, as long as we're proceeding, with a healthy process and with a transparent process. So that's what I'm advocating for. Yes.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, I don't think that's really fair to sort of undermine, Scott Grindy's hiring by what you just said. I mean, it calls into the question the whole thing. I think that's very inappropriate. And
I'm
second
not
of all,
undermining it. I'm just explaining what happened. It's in email. So it's a fact, and I'm not going to,
well, I think that, you know.
I'm not
if
okay
you're
with you
gonna say
saying I'm undermining anything because I'm not. It's what happened.
that- Okay, well, I'm going to go to the second thing. Typically, from my experience with recruitments, you don't make public the name of the people on the panel, because that right there can create problems, because your people who have applied for the job will start lobbying all the people who will be on the panel. I mean, that's very uncommon. You don't usually name the people who are going to be on the panel who's interviewing you. You usually go into it cold.
I didn't say name the people. I said it's important that the public know which groups are going to be part of the process. I didn't say name the individuals.
I can amend the document that we have from BHI Consulting and add the organization or agencies that have confirmed. So, and then we can, Debbie, maybe we can place that on the website. We also have the brochure out now. We have them at both harbors, and I think at the admin office too. And do you have an electronic version of that is on the website already?
It's online. It is online.
So maybe we can just place this document with my additions with the organizations that have, that I can, well, I'd say we wait a couple more weeks until I hear back from the people I've reached out to, not heard back yet. And then when we have the list, we can put that up there. And, I'm always open to suggestion if someone has really strong feelings for an organization or agency that should be part of this. I can try to reach out to them, and they can, they can email me their ideas, and I can try to reach out to them as a follow-up. But I think we have actually really good compilation of agencies whose opinion we care about as a district. And it was a lot of hard work and thoughts and careful consideration that went into this process, but I think it turned out as a really good, solid interview process.
Well, I appreciate all the work that has gone into it and is ongoing, and I think it's unfortunate that only 3 board members could make it to that meeting. So I hope that the video will be online soon, because I look forward to watching the video. I think if I saw the meeting video, I'd have a better understanding of the process, and so I'm kind of at a loss without that. So hopefully that'll be posted this coming week.
I want to make the correction. You stated that commissioners filmed the meeting. That is incorrect.
Oh, I'm sorry, who did?
A member of the public started recording with the cell phone. PCT was invited to film that meeting, and they were there very close, but I think that when you put in the address, and that's, I think, good to know for future reference there too, it actually points you to the yacht club and not the harbor master's office. So PCT couldn't make it to the meeting, and we started recording thanks to a member of the public with a cell phone, and then I think staff finished it the second part of the meeting. So hopefully we can get those videos up online. But we do have a pretty thorough description of the process, and I'll just add the agencies that have already agreed to participate.
That would really help. Scott, do you think that the video, if staff is having a hard time producing the video, could the video files just be sent to PCT?
They've already been sent. They're working on it.
Okay, great. Okay.
Could I make a point of clarity?
Yes.
You mentioned the interview I went through. And the one thing I do want to make a statement, I didn't pick the people who interviewed me when I came down here. Secondly, when they were introduced as executives from different harbors and ports. They may have been part of the Maritime Bank, but they were not introduced as Maritime Bank members. They were people who were either from Santa Cruz or other harbors and ports. And when I've run into them at other meetings throughout the last 3 years, that's where they usually were representing or something. So it seems unfortunate that I'm being presented as a person who was interviewed by the bank When in fact, these were professionals who either were working or were professionals who had retired from the industry we are in.
I appreciate that, Scott, and I don't mean to imply in any way that you had any choice in who interviewed you, and I also don't mean to imply that the people that interviewed you weren't involved in marinas and harbors, but I do know from reading the emails that you know, the people that were invited to interview you were invited through the California Maritime Infrastructure Bank. You had absolutely nothing to do with that invitation.
No, but I am brought up continually with the bank as the interviewees. And it's unfortunate because it's not stated also that these people were professionals in their field in the maritime area.
Well, and some of them were, at least one of them is a banker by trade, not a maritime person. So, you know, that it doesn't really...
I just like to have clarity to that because it seems very insulting when it was brought up the way it is.
Well, I do not, my intention was not to insult you. I'm just concerned with the process and making sure that the district not repeat the past and that we move forward with a really healthy and transparent process so that there aren't any questions brought up later. We have an opportunity to move forward, you know, in a better way, and I just want to make sure that that happens. So I, you know, don't mean to discredit your interview process at all.
Through the chair, from a human resource standpoint, I think it's critical that you do not advertise the agencies that are going to be involved in the interview process. I think it's critical. I think it would be a huge mistake. So the board can do whatever it wants, obviously. But
well, we've already heard who they are tonight. Are you saying that shouldn't have happened?
I'm just saying you want to post it on the website. I do not think that should be posted at all. It is supposed to be a process where the individual comes in and does not know who they are going to be interviewed by. And so if they have a list of 20 agencies, they themselves can go, as Commissioner Bernardo said, they themselves can go ahead and proactively start marketing themselves ahead of lobbying. That is not transparent at all. So you do not want to be advertising. Now you can say we're basically reaching out to our industry and to members in our industry. If you want to leave it at that, that is fine.
Well, that's a really interesting point that I had not considered. Now we all know who they are. So what are we to do?
Well, I wouldn't put any more information out there than has already been stated.
Well, it's going to be posted on YouTube.
Well, we can't help that.
So let's move on to, if there isn't anything else, commissioner statements and requests. And we have item 1, which is this is B1. The Board of Harbor Commissioners may make public statements limited to 5 minutes. Any statements? Okay.
Through the chair, just very briefly, I would just like to thank Scott Grindy. I know that we're sort of transitioning now. I really would like to thank Scott Grindy again. I know we've done this, we can't think of enough, but thank you for sort of shepherding us through this transition process. And I know that we're about to move. That's going to be more kind of turmoil for staff. It's not easy. I know it's not going to be easy, but I want to thank Scott Grindy for everything that he's done to keep the district moving forward and just chugging along, you know, especially during, you know, such challenging times, especially, you know, like you do in the past several months. So thank you. And welcome aboard to our interim GM as well. So thank you. But that's all I have to say.
Anybody else?
I have a couple of comments. I'll start with thank yous. I also would like to thank Mr. Scott Grindy for the work that he has done for the district, for the dedication and the extreme patience that he has shown in his role as interim acting general manager. I think we can all attest to the fact that there's been some real up and downs in your tenure as interim acting general manager. And I personally like to thank you for leading us through these turbulent times. and keeping a smile on your face. I know that there's times of the day that you feel like that the fire has been extinguished, but it's nice to see that you have renewed your energy, and it hasn't. I'm sure it has not come easy. I think we've heard a lot of reports from you that saying that the overwork is very extremely burdensome for you and your family, and I would just like to extend that just a first class thank you for someone that's been with the district for a very long time, and to see an employee like you just really be stretched out and still maintain an integrity and dedication for the Harbor District. Also, I'd like to thank the acting harbor masters for their work in fulfilling their role, and also for the retired Charlotte Rocky that is no longer with us. But it's been really nice to have you at our meetings, and I really appreciate the work that both of you have done, and I'm sure it's taken away a lot of your family time. And I would like to end by just making clear that as of May 13th, the people that have been in the acting position will return to their normal job roles. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we don't have to put this on the agenda anymore, but it's an automatic trigger that Mr. Grindy will become the harbor master, and then Mr. Merle and Mr. Draper will return to as assistant harbor master. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear, and also I would like to welcome Mr. Lazo for your willingness to lead us to a successful venture, and I appreciate your time.
Not just willing, but really looking forward to it.
Okay, so next we have B2, which is any commissioner wishing to place an item on a future agenda may make a motion to place such on a future agenda. Yes.
I don't know if this should have fallen under statements or future agendas, but I'm very concerned about several items, mostly revenue producers. One thing I'd like to have us look at is the Catch Cafe and repurpose the signboard entering the harbor. They have two boards up there, and one of the businesses they never got around to opening. And I don't think that they should be advertising a business that was never open. I think there's other opportunities in the harbor. People can put names up there and get some recognition, or possibly whatever a sign is worth. Another thing that's taken way longer than it ever should is the RFP for the bait shop and the Department of Boating and Waterways update. So we've just about got our agreement drawn up, but before we can put out an RFP, we have to get a Department of Boating and Waterways update. And from what I understand, they're very slow about getting back to us. I don't know if they're as slow as the Coastal Commission, maybe. But I'd sure like to be kept in the loop or see how we can possibly move that forward. At our prior meeting, we had California Canoe and Kayak came in here to talk about something to do on our property. And we said, well, yeah, we're going to work out some kind of agreement for fees. I, so far, have not heard anything proposed on the fee schedule for California Canoe and Kayak. I have heard people just go crazy over the concept that they might be tying up the launch ramp. Granted, they said they wouldn't do that. I saw that there's been discussions with the acting harbor masters about the reduction of water use. And yet we've got a group that said the main thing they wanted was water to rinse their boards, their equipment, and their bodies. So we have talked about, they even volunteered water options, but I haven't heard anything brought forward yet. And from what I understand, their equipment's down there and they're already setting up, and they may well be operating now. So what are we doing to protect our water use? How are we charging them? And what's the harbor getting out of this new business that's come on the premises? So those are the 3 items I'd like terrific follow-up on as we try and move the district forward.
Okay, so do you want to request specific agenda items?
Well, I just
like
listed
our
3.
Policy or?
I just listed 3.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to get those things on the agenda, or is staff already planning to put them on the agenda?
May I ask for clarification on DBA? Are you saying because of the bait shop that we would be spending money, so DBA then has to approve the construction spend? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Very good. I just want to clarify for the finance director. Thank you.
So I'd like to request a motion, if I'm not hearing one, then the repurposing the signboard entering the harbor as one item, the follow-up, the RFP for the bait shop, and a complete report on what are we doing with the Department of Boating and Waterways, how can we move this forward? Can we get a provisional request for RFPs and they can give us approval, but we've got to get these RFPs out because people have to get time to put their RFPs together and send them back. And then also California Canoe and Kayak, I'd really like to hear something about how it's going to in fact impact the revenues of our harbor.
Okay, so I think you have to make each one as a motion for us to be able to vote on it. Is that correct, Stephen Miller?
That would be helpful.
Okay, so, but before we do that, go ahead.
It would be helpful also just to make as clear as possible what exactly the item that you're looking for, what you're looking to place on the agenda, whether you're looking for a report, action on a particular matter, and what that action would be. The more clarity you can offer your commissioners for them to be able to vote on, the better.
And before you go, I would just, it seems like the California Canoe Kayak item has to come back to the board anyway, so do we really need to put in a request for an agenda item for that, or isn't that coming to us?
It's supposed to come back in 90 days is what you voted on last meeting.
Yeah. Yes, but in order for the board to, last time when we had it on the agenda, there was very little information provided to the board that would have helped the board prepare for finding the right solution or the best solution. And so it would seem that this would need to come back to the board in advance of making a decision so that the board would have time to hear a report and recommendations from staff and that sort of thing about whether or not the situation was working out, what the plan was to charge for water, and to, I see your stand. Help us.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about the next agenda, which I will own part of, what I'd like to do is take that whole list of items and put them on the agenda, because I think when a director is interested, I only have a problem putting items on the agenda. I'll talk more about that because one of the items on the next agenda is going to be agenda process and what's involved. But what I'd like to do is put them on. Keep in mind that as one of the other items on the next agenda will be about setting some strong priorities. As priorities are made, it may be that some items will be on the agenda, but might not have all the staff information, may only have a report that says, we didn't really get to it, we may want to table this. But it is a method of tracking, and it's a way of letting you know that we haven't gotten to it yet. That doesn't prevent you, however, from having a discussion or giving direction or brainstorming on it. That's possible too. But I don't really have an objection to having things discussed. One thing I'll repeat at that meeting is it's just very important to remember that the agenda almost immediately becomes my agenda. So if items go on the agenda, I will make every effort to address them in time to get them in the packet. So what I'm suggesting is that there's a continuum somewhere between feeling frustrated that your items are forgotten and having everything on the agenda all the time. It's a happy medium. It'll take some work to find that. So But when you feel an item should be on the agenda, personally, I don't think it'd be a very formal direction to put it on. I'm in favor of commissioners being able to discuss things they'd like to discuss. However, that doesn't mean necessarily that you need to carry on the discussion for a long time. You can find out how each of you feel and give some direction and move on. Or you may say, when you come back with information, please include additional information, how long will it take, and let's get back to you in 90 days or 45 days or whatever. Just want to kind of lay out that there are options, but I really feel that those agendas should be agendas that the commission owns.
So what I'm hearing is that at our next meeting, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but at our next meeting, which will be later this month, we'll have an opportunity as a board to do some agenda setting and some prioritization of various outstanding issues that need to get addressed, and that might be a good time to map out these items and then as a board work together to prioritize them. Is that sort of?
And I will, and these items that we've just talked about, these will be on the agenda. I may only say staff isn't fully prepared. Probably not a good time for a lengthy discussion. Probably not a good time to give a lot of direction if the information isn't there. But you don't have to feel hamstrung talking about it, because that's not the purpose.
I'm trying to figure out how to move forward here because we're.
Well, you can either make a motion. If you want to make a motion to come on the agenda, will have the same effect as if you do nothing, because I've got that list. Those three items will be on the agenda.
Okay.
Just keep in mind.
And you can clarify with Commissioner Mateusz the specifics of his.
The part of what I'm saying is, just because they're on the agenda doesn't mean with other things that we're doing that staff will have all the full reports there, but it will be a way of saying, hey, you've got our ear, we're ready to
Okay,
discuss.
so just to clarify, you can have some offline discussion with Commissioner Mateusz about the specifics of what he's getting at, so we don't have to keep clarifying here. Is that comfortable?
Great.
Okay.
Or if he's not satisfied with how that turns out, if it's on the agenda, he can help us clarify it.
At the meeting. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm very much in favor of conducting the public's business in public.
Okay.
We can clarify it in front of, well.
Okay, great. All right, that works. So I imagine there might be another commissioner here who wants to speak. Yes.
I do. I have a request for not really, it's not an agenda item, it's an informational report. And I know you're all in the middle of moving, and this is actually directed towards Mr. Miller. In the interest of government transparency, I really, really liked the report that Scott Grindy put together on page 3 of 19 and 4 of 19 in terms of commissioner time and how much time staff is spending on one-on-one with each commissioner. So in the interest of government transparency, I have a question for you, Mr. Miller. Would you be able to create something similar to what was done by Scott, but not with this level of specificity? I mean, not like 2 emails, 1 phone call, nothing like that, but more of just time, just in general, just time, not this type of detail though. And specifically, I'm looking at the parameters would be, today is the 6th of May. I'm looking at from April 6th to May 6th, so just a month. I just want a snapshot. Because remember I was talking about legal costs, and again, this is not to drive you out or anything like that, but I really would like the public and myself, I want to see where all of these costs are going in terms of legal costs without creating legal exposure. That's why I don't want phone miscellaneous call meetings and things like that. So I'd like, do you know how long that would take?
Commissioner Bernardo, I think we have another comment from our.
One of the, I think there was a comment earlier about a different legal firm that we work with. One thing you have to be careful about is the client confidentiality in revealing, and however, if it is something that's pertaining to litigation, labor negotiations, or particular items like that, information can be provided in closed session.
Can I clarify? I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. What I specifically want is, I want the name of the commissioner and just time. I don't want what you talked about. I don't want to know any of that, because those are confidential, and I understand that, especially if it's labor negotiation. I don't even want to know it's a labor negotiation. I just want time. Does that make sense?
And I'm not sure the nature of those discussions, but they could end up being an indication to interested eyes of discussions around potential litigation.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, could you please help me out?
Well, I would like to say one thing before we get to council. I just happened to be looking back at the June 5th, 2013 meeting video today. Completely unrelated.
2015?
I'm sorry, 2013. Yeah, and completely unrelated to this item. I was just reviewing the Mavericks Invitational Surf Contest item that was reviewed by the board on June 5th, 2013. And that meeting video is published online. And it just so happens coincidentally that same evening you made a similar request. I think it was the first time you requested this sort of in-depth accountment of, or allotment of accounting for attorney time, which at that time was really a witch hunt that was directed at me. And I just wanted to remind you that we adopted board norms recently, and we are supposed to be working together as a team here. And I just, when I saw that video today, it brought it all back, and it reminded me of what you did back in 2013. And it really was upsetting to see what you did at that meeting, and it was disturbing. And I feel like this, little exercise that you want to focus on isn't really necessarily the most productive thing that the board ought to be doing, and that our attorney should be doing, and that our staff should be doing. And although I agree we need to come up with policy that helps improve or reduce our legal fees, we need to think carefully about what those policies should be, and we need to get the input from our staff on the policy. This sort of keeping count and keeping record and scorecarding and whatever it is that has been going on here, it just doesn't create a very friendly environment. So I just wanted to voice those concerns.
Okay, thank you, and I understand where you're coming from and your sensitivity to that, and I understand, I get it. So here's my question. I'm going to throw this out to Mr. Miller and to staff. How can we, absent my suggestion of, how do we know, like I said, we're at 1,000% now. How can we control that, and how do we know how we could bring it down? How can we bring down those if we don't do a full accounting of it? Please help me.
Sure. I think it's a fair comment. I have been thinking about it considerably, because I never imagined when I took this job that I would be spending as much of my time and your money as I have been. So I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I think it is a fair comment. So let me make a couple of statements and then maybe try and answer your question. The first is that, as your new acting general manager has mentioned, and as I think I've advised you in a memo a few months ago, it is true that the detailed narrative summaries of the work I do is an attorney-client privileged communication. That means it's your privilege, not mine. So you can, at any time, you can vote to make it public. I may have some thoughts about whether that's a wise idea or not, but that doesn't mean that you can't do that anytime you want. So that's the first thought. Second is, short of that, I track my time in increasing levels of detail and specificity. The first level is by general category, like administration, real estate, labor and employment, board meetings, general categories. Within those categories, at the request of the finance department, I do my best, and sometimes it's difficult, but I do my best to subcategorize between what's related to Pillar Point Harbor, what's Oyster Point Marina, and what's general administrative. Sometimes that's difficult because a legal question is not necessarily specifically tied to one of the two properties or not. And then even within that, I track my time to the 10th of an hour. So every 6 minutes, you get a narrative that says, respond to phone call from Commissioner Bernardo about vanilla ice cream. 0.2 of an hour. And those bills are available for your review, each and an individual, any one of you at the Harbor District's office. So if you wanted to see more data than you could shake a stick at, it's all there available for you. I want to be as transparent as I can be for you. In terms of compiling the data in different ways, I could do that too. I think I would, especially given the dissension I'm hearing amongst the board, I think I would prefer to do that at the direction of a majority vote of the board. I do have some thoughts as to how, let's put it this way, I have some thoughts as to why your legal costs have skyrocketed, and those thoughts may lead you to conclusions as to how you might address that and reduce that, and I intend on sharing those thoughts with you by way of, it could be done in two ways. It could be done by way of a confidential memo. Actually, to have the draft here, because I've been thinking about this a lot in the last few weeks, but another option for you to consider is it would be certainly appropriate, and Commissioner David has mentioned this to me before, to conduct a performance evaluation of me as your counsel, and I would welcome such an evaluation where you could evaluate my efficiencies, evaluate where you see I'm spending my time, how you could direct me to spend my time better in certain areas than others, and I would welcome that feedback. My goal is to help provide a legal framework for you to do what you want to do. And for you to, I'm not a policymaker, I'm not your general manager. I can have as limited or as expansive a role as you choose. There are some agencies that have general counsels who are their general counsel and are involved in every level of executive decision-making as a counselor. And there are some agencies that use their legal counsel in a much more narrowly prescribed way. There's no requirement that I be here at this meeting. You can tell me not to come to your meetings. I will serve you as you determine. And I think I'll leave it there. Is that helpful to you? So you'll receive a memo from me.
Okay.
That will include what I want to say to you. If you have specifics of what you want to hear from me, I would suggest you either direct me by a majority vote or conduct a performance evaluation.
To follow up on that point though really quick, there was a time in the past, which I'm sure Commissioner Paravano recalls, where general counsel did not attend every meeting. I'm not suggesting that, but this district has worked with general counsel in different capacities over time. So it wasn't, I think it was not that many years ago that council started coming to every meeting again, because I remember that topic coming up at a past meeting before I got on the board when I happened to be sitting in the audience. So there are special districts that don't have council at every meeting. It's optional. It's what the board is comfortable with. And obviously there are ways to create policies to limit, the amount of use of counsel. However, when there is outstanding litigation or potential litigation it's not as if you can just ignore that stuff. So, you know, those are real things that have to get dealt with. As far as the categorization of fees, you know, I know that our council does a very detailed job of that. The one thing that I think is a little weird about our budget, the way that we document council in the budget, is not so specific in that there's a lot of lumping together of things. So for example, if a commissioner, say Commissioner Bernardo, calls council about the ice cream machine at Oyster Point Marina and has a question, I'm just giving an example, it's not documented in our budget or in our system, at least the way I understand it, that that call was related to a concern at Oyster Point Marina versus Pillar Point Harbor. In other words, it would be more accurate if because commissioners or the board president, depending on how the agency or the board decides to do it, have to interact with council. We all know we have to interact with council. Council comes to closed session. There are things that have to be done. But you know, it's not always specific what the board members' concerns are in relation to which location. And some people have questioned whether or not we shouldn't be allotting legal fees by location versus, you know, Harbor Board of Commissioners, admin, Pillar Point, or Oyster Point, because it's not really a fair breakdown the way that it's getting divvied up right now. So if you took commissioner concerns or council dealing with, say council's dealing with some pending litigation and board members have concerns and there has to be some interaction, well, it would be more accurate to say that that was, say, in this case, a Pillar Point, an Oyster Point Marina issue, and that they get recorded as legal fees spent on an issue related to Oyster Point Marina, not on the Harbor Commission, because it's not the Harbor Commission's ice cream machine. It's the ice cream machine at Oyster Point Marina, and the Harbor Commissioner just happens to have a question about that ice cream machine versus the one over at Pillar Point Harbor, if you get what I mean. So there are ways that we could probably more clearly record the way that commissioners interact with council and the fees associated with that, so we could get a better sense of, well, is Pillar Point Harbor costing way more in legal fees than, say, Oyster Point Marina?
I just want to finish up my point.
And then I think I should take my own advice in that this discussion of the district's legal costs is probably something that a lot of the public would be interested in, and to have an unagendized discussion about it.
Well, if I may too, I wanted to...
I'm sorry, may I interrupt you 1 second? You have 4 minutes, so we need to either wrap it up in 4 minutes or extend the meeting. It's 9:20.
Do we think we can wrap it up and you had one more comment?
I can be very quick.
Okay.
Certainly the commissioner should finish.
Okay, let's try to wrap it up.
So all I'm going to say is this. I look forward to your memo or whatever you're going to give us, but also let's remember that I don't want it just for me. There has to be a way to balance the information that I get and also government transparency so that members of the public have a sense. Because when I'm talking about 1,000% increase in legal costs, I think the public, not just Robert Bernardo, but the public deserves to know, what is that going to? It's like, is that going to research on Robert Bernardo's, I mean, what? So that's all I'm saying, is there's got to be a way to balance out the public's, you know, transparency and my desire to know what all these rising costs are. That's all.
And I think you can decide, you collectively, the board, need to decide how to strike that balance.
Okay, and one last comment.
My two final points were, one, as I've been here and as commissioners have been speaking, I'm taking notes, and whether it be agendas or information about legal costs, if commissioners have questions, I work for you. I'm going to endeavor to answer them. So there's been 2 commissioners during this meeting that have mentioned some questions about legal expenses. Again, that's enough for me to make a note and figure out how to make available that information. We do have invoices. I think all legal people use the same program to record their, I've seen many legal bills are all pretty similar format that describes the topic and the time. And I think that's a legitimate question in a case where you've seen You have a fiduciary duty, and you've seen the bills rising if you have questions. And, so I made notes on that, whether it be items on the agenda, and you'll get a response, and if it's easy to come to the office and see it, or if we need to even have, if it's confidential, if we need a memo in closed session, but we're going to try to find a way to address those. The other thing I want to say is you raised this very important point that's something I haven't started yet, but you talked about cost allocation, which is near and dear to my heart. And in fact, Scott and I had a discussion about this. It's been on his mind as well. We have departments. Our departments are useful as a financial tool, but departments do not indicate cost allocation. One of the misnomers I read in the grand jury report was that we're spending tax money on things that benefit, particular groups. It's not, at this point to me is unknown, because we have a lot of public resources that we're providing. We don't have a public resource department. We don't, and in fact...
Hey Glenn, I'm really sorry to stop you, but we are just so far afield from the agenda.
Cost allocation is one of the topics that the Finance Committee needs to talk about.
I take your point and I agree. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so was there anything else, or can we
Motion
get a
to
motion?
adjourn.
I'll second. Third.
Sorry.